We are live on Facebook, people.
Woo!
Oh,
that's right.
we got a woo there. We got a woo to start the show. I couldn't hear you. Could you do that again, sir?
Of course.
Woo!
Woo! All right.
We
got a woo in.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So since we have a woo, that we need some Vince McMahon impersonations. Would that be correct, sir? Pat?
I'm not sure my voice can handle it, but I'll try.
Nicole just asked me because I'm in the AEW, so there's a face tunnel and a heel tunnel, and Cody comes out the middle. So she's like, "Is he a tweener?" He doesn't come from the other. He comes out the middle.
He's
that's
he's
the
undecided.
Cody, that's the Cody tunnel, because we know that he's the big star of the show.
I mean, he got a pop last night and tonight, so
yeah, it's all about Cody.
It's
about, I don't know which side I want to swing on right now.
Oh God. Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
The face or the heel? I'm just swinging around until I decide which side I want to jump on.
He thinks he's a face, but he's a heel.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to describe him.
Yeah, no. Wow. So what's going on, everybody?
Nothing much. Just another day in paradise.
Just me, something with butts today. Gluteus maximus, derrieres. I don't know. Been using those words a lot.
He said butt.
yeah.
Beavis and Butthead. That was some funny shit back in the day, wasn't it? My favorite phrase is bungholio. I lost my shit when I heard him say that the first time.
I used to.
My sister and I had to sneak watching that when my parents weren't looking. They really didn't want us watching that for a few years.
Well, yeah, and it was on MTV. It was on a weird time. And my favorite thing was when he did the Great Cornholio. That was always funny to me. Like, I'm the Great Cornholio.
Are you threatening me?
Yes, it was.
I am Cornholio. Hey, give me from my bunghole.
At least we had to like sneak and watch. Like my friend Zach, his parents wouldn't let him watch wrestling.
What?
Yeah.
What kind of puritanical household did he grow up in?
Very religious. He grew up in a very religious home, and he had to sneak to watch wrestling.
Yeah, my parents were never that bad.
So. No,
professional wrestling is the devil.
Most people weren't, but he has told me that, and I'm just like, man.
Yeah, that's I can't think of having an upbringing like that.
Son is the devil child.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Anyways, I didn't mean that. You guys were talking about sneaking to watch. I didn't mean to interrupt the great Cornholio.
No, that's fine. I would like to take this opportunity to apologize for us not being last week. I will take the heat for that. It was a combination of my father and I had planned to go see a movie on Saturday night rather than our regular Friday night, basically because the seats which we normally like to sit in were purchased for the Friday night show. But then I ended up with a really bad cold too, so I was in no mood to try to podcast anyway.
You don't have to make a real reason for the stripper party. You don't have to come up with some other reason for the stripper party.
Hey.
Listen, that's what happens when you kiss all those girls. One of them gave you some cooties.
If I had a stripper party, not only would I be telling the truth about that, but I'd be showing you pictures.
Do I see a little something on your lip there, Patrick?
Oh, it's funny.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were being silly. I thought maybe because I just ate dinner. Sorry. What do I have?
Oh my God.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
but seriously,
So,
I got a flu shot a little over a week ago, and I immediately got a cold because of it. So
yes. And did I tell you guys what happened after I got my vaccine? Like how I
No,
got
'cause-
sick?
No, because last
No.
time we did this, you were talking about that you were going to give it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So,
It's been 2 weeks,
so like the reaction that Darth Pat's saying he had is the reaction that I had to my COVID vaccine. So I had, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago now, I had to get my COVID vaccine because my job required, and so I was just like, oh, okay, I'll get it, whatever. And got the Johnson and Johnson about 3:00 in the morning. I woke up with severe like shaking chills, like I couldn't stop shaking. Thought I was cold, but I wasn't cold. Like my body did not feel cold, but I got those shakes.
so you got a fever.
And then, well, yeah, it was evidently the beginning of the fever. And then after that subsided, which took a long time, then about 6:00 in the morning, then I had a fever, which I couldn't stop. Like I couldn't stop. I was roasting. Like I was just like sweating. It was like disgusting. I was like, oh my God, I'm so gross. Like, so I ended up taking 2 days off.
Marshmallows on you?
Maybe.
we know that you're so gross. So.
I know, but I ended up taking off 2 days from work because I just wasn't myself. Like I was extremely tired after that, and then I still had a fever the next day. So it was just weird. That's why I don't get the flu shot either. Not because I don't believe in it, but
I only had a fever for like maybe an hour or two, like the night. But you got the dual one, so mine was the reaction to I think the first shot I got. I had a fever and that was it.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I got the Pfizer vaccine. The worst reaction I had to that was a little bit of soreness in the arm for like maybe a day, if that, and it wasn't even that severe. So maybe it's just differences in the vaccines and shit like that. I mean, the funny thing is the only reason I get the flu shot is because of the other issues I have, and they basically said, with what you have, it's a good idea to get the flu shot. So, and the other reason I resisted, I think I've mentioned this before, is because when I was a little kid, I used to get allergy shots, and like the needles were like it's fucking long and shit, but it's not like that anymore. But this is the first time I've had a bad reaction to the flu shot. So
it's just funny, like when the guy that gave me my vaccination, the guy that jabbed me, he's sitting there talking, and like all of a sudden he's just like and punched me. I felt like he punched me in the arm. I was like, dude, like, what the hell? I think I'm like, who trained these people how to give those vaccines? Like, who trained you? Because you suck at it. Like, really bad.
The second one I got, I didn't even notice. Like, I didn't even know it happened, and it was already done.
Yeah, like I think the reason why they talk to you so that if you're somebody who is nervous about needles in general, that they're not like bringing attention to it to when they do it. But yeah, I don't remember getting basically punched in the arm, to got the two that I got. But I think again, it's a technique to just try to distract, needle hesitant people from bringing the attention to it. Like, okay, I'm going to stick you right now, so.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting. Like, it's been a long time since I've had any kind of shots or anything like that, and I haven't had blood drawn in a long time. But those little fancy little things that they put on your arm now, that they put the needle right through and it turns into like an automatic Band-Aid, I was like, that's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, they have that for some of them.
Where did you get that?
I only got I only was super tired after the first and second one. Small fever, didn't really last long.
There's talk.
I didn't. Not too much for me, honestly.
We have both guys bleeding.
Of course, Cody's going to bleed. Cody likes to bleed.
For everybody watching right now, AJ is watching AEW Dynamite. I can't talk.
Friday.
So, but yeah, today was interesting. Like, my wife is on call for her job today. Her on-call portion's done now, but she was on call all day for her job. But she went up and she got up and ended up going to a cookie decorating class, which was really cool because she likes to decorate cutout cookies. Like, that's her big thing, and she gets people that order them from her and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
Fun.
So she got some tips and stuff like that are gonna help her make her cookies a little bit easier, make a cleaner design on them when she goes to design them. And then we ended up going to the Northampton, what they call the Jack Frost Parade, which is their Halloween parade. which was nice. They didn't have it last year. They canceled it because of COVID.
know.
I know they called it a Jack. I don't know why they call it Jack Frost in October.
I'm thinking the same thing, Pat. Jack Frost, Christmas.
It's not to say you associate Jack Frost with Christmas and winter as opposed to Halloween, but it's like, even if it was like supposed to be some kind of thing saying, well, the weather's going to cold, it's still fucking 60 degrees up here. The weather hasn't gotten cold yet, you know?
Yeah, I didn't get it.
60? Oh, I don't know what that's like.
Shut up. Come down there and poke you in the eye. Jerk. But yeah, it was I don't know why they call it that either. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why they just don't call it a Halloween parade. You know, just call it what it is. That's because that's what it is. There's nothing
and shit.
The only thing Christmas in it is the fact that Santa Claus rides usually the last fire truck of the parade, and that's it.
Oh, so, kind of like what they do at like the Macy's Thanksgiving parade.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to call it Jack Frost in Halloween.
I don't understand why they wouldn't just call it a Halloween parade either. You know, back when I was in high school and I was in marching band, we did 3 or 4 fucking Halloween parades every damn year. We always did. We did one in Copley. We did one in Catasauqua, which sucks so bad because because the route of the Catasauqua Halloween parade is basically all uphill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you probably went up Ray Street.
And when you're carrying a drum, marching uphill is not fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then we always did the one in Bangor, which was fun because being that we were the Penargil band, we'd get booed just because we were from Penargil, because the whole Penargil-Bangor rivalry, since the two towns are next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
The fun thing, though, for the Bangor Halloween parade is that it was a costume parade. Like, so we didn't have to march in our uniforms. We could wear costumes.
Mm.
And the last Bangor Halloween parade I marched in was my senior year, which was 1998. For whatever reason, they decided to do a theme for the parade that year. I don't know if they always did themes for the parades, but they did the theme that they did for that year was Titanic, because that was, you know, like the year after Titanic had come out in movie theaters and set all the box office records and won all the Oscars and everything.
Uh-huh.
So I had bought this shirt at Suncoast Video that said, "The boat sank, get over it." Because this was at a time, I think, where there was this like whole line of like
the
shirts
boat
that
sank, get over it.
There was this whole line of shirts that came out that said, like, you know, get over it. Like there was one that like made reference to the Clinton Lewinsky affair that said, so they had an affair, get over it, you know. So I had this shirt already, and so when I heard that the theme was Titanic, I immediately went, really? So I decided that my costume would just be me wearing this shirt because the theme of the parade was Titanic and everything. But then I thought to myself, damn it, I want people to see the shirt, and I'm going to be wearing a drum harness.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, all right, I know what the route of the parade is. I know it's probably...
He called you a marching band nerd.
Yeah. I know it's probably going to kill me, but here's what I'll do. I'll just wear, like, you know, because it's going to be a little warm, you know, a little cool, of course, and everything. I'll wear a couple shirts, put the harness on, and then put the shirt over the harness, which will, of course, prevent me from taking the harness off if we ever have, like, a stop in the parade and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody will be able to see that I'm wearing a shirt that says the boat sank, get over it. I told...
That's a lot of thinking for a Bart. That's a lot of thinking, though, just for a T-shirt.
Because I want to. Like, I hate everybody talking about this movie. I don't understand why you're doing the theme of a Halloween parade to be Titanic. You know, I just was trying to make
that is kind of weird.
You know what? I wish somebody. You got to answer this question for me, because I know probably nobody did it, but did anybody have like a float that was like just a bunch of dead people like floating in like pretend water? Because that'd have been fucking awesome.
I doubt that. I mean,
that'd be insane.
See, the thing is too, like when you're in the parade, you don't really get to see a lot of what else is in the parade, because you know, you have to gather at a certain point to start, and then, you know, it's like, okay, you're next, get in line and everything. So, you know, you don't really see a lot of what else is in the parade. I think there were floats that had to do with Titanic and stuff. Not one that I don't believe there was one that was depicting dead people floating in water. I mean, would have been pretty kind of cool and really fitting with the whole idea of Halloween, dead people.
Yeah.
But I don't believe there was. But anyway, so like I told everybody in the band I was going to do this, and like half the people didn't believe me. So then I showed up that night and put the shirt on and walking around before like we got into line and everything, and I had like half the people in the band going, "Oh my God, you did it!" And I said, "If I say I'm going to do something like this, trust me, I'm going to fucking do it. Don't doubt me." So I had a good time that night. Whether anybody in like the crowd noticed I was wearing the shirt, I have no idea, but I'm kind of hoping they did. It's one of my prouder moments.
I believe that. I really do.
And ever since then, it's been all downhill. No.
Yeah. I mean, it was already downhill. It was already on the way downhill then, but yeah.
Took a nosedive after that.
Cody won.
Yes, Cody won.
Yeah, I knew.
Oh, no.
Of course he did.
Yeah, I knew he was going to, but
Of course he did.
Alabama's having a tough time with Tennessee.
Yes, they are.
Oh man,
they are not doing very well.
So I think Joe, it's time for us to give an update on fantasy football and how well we're doing or not doing. Since
I'm so happy I'm not doing fantasy football this year. It's really been a relief, to be honest.
Yep. I don't at all.
For me, my biggest struggle this season is that I've lost games because of one person. Either somebody from the opposing team having a spectacular game. For example, last week, not last week, the week before, I was up by 36 points.
That's a pretty big margin.
And yes, I thought I was pretty okay. Considering the fact that the opposing team's last player left was the tight end for the Baltimore Ravens, who just so happened to have over 140 some yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, and a 2-point conversion catch that actually netted this motherfucker 41 points. Hence, I lost by 4. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? I've had, like, my record is 2-4. I won this past weekend because of Derrick Henry, because he's a fucking beast. And everybody and their mother in this league is trying to send me a trade package for Derrick Henry. Your nephew is included in that list.
Oh yeah, he tried to trade me for somebody too, for Chubb.
He tried to trade me, and 3 other people have tried to send me trades for Derrick Henry. So I posted in the message thing, "Hello everyone, I will not be taking offers for Derrick Henry." Period.
Yeah, like you should say something like,
"Forget about it."
You should say something like, "Hey everybody, I've told you to fuck off when it comes to Derrick Henry trades. Now, when I tell you to fuck off, what do you do?"
To deal with all of this.
You fuck off.
Exactly.
Listen,
you'll go far. Now fuck off.
And some of the trades I've been like, the players are trying to trade me. I don't remember the one. Let's see. So the one was, who was the, I think Devontae Freeman starting this weekend, but who is the Ravens' other running back? Latavius Murray, is he on that team?
Not sure. I'd have to look it up.
I didn't even
like 2 running backs.
I used to know
anyway. So it was Murray and Antonio Brown and another wide receiver. They tried to trade me for Derrick Henry. And I was looking at that like, are you fucking joking me? The 3 of these guys combined don't average as many fantasy points as Derrick Henry's averaging for me right now.
Yeah, Latavius Murray is with the Ravens. So was Le'Veon Bell. I don't know.
Yes, he is. Yeah, they've signed some old timers on that team.
And see, the thing is that running backs can get you a lot of points in this league, but you have to have a running back that catches the ball out of the backfield too. Like some of these teams have, I don't want to say two-headed monsters, but they've got a primary back that they use for most of their plays, and then they've got a running back that they use for either pass plays or for short yardage plays at the goal line. And Nick Chubb, unfortunately, as much as I'm glad I got him, he's killing me because he is not their goal line person. That's Kamara. No. Who the hell's the other guy on the Browns?
Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt. Thank you. That's their goal line guy. And that's also the guy that they pass to out of the backfield. So Kareem Hunt doesn't get as many yards on the runs, but he's probably getting more points because of the fact that he's catching the ball and getting the touchdowns. I'm like, this really fucking bites ass. So
dude, I went back and looked at the stats and I'm like, how did Andrews score over 40 points in scoring for a tight end in this league? I was baffled. I just couldn't believe it.
I'll tell you right now, I definitely have the best wide receiver in Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, points wise, yeah.
He's just over 20 points a game, easy, every game, every week. It's ridiculous.
Herbert's done great for me at quarterback every single week, except for this past week when he played. I can't remember what he played, but he didn't have a good game. Yeah. A couple touchdowns, several interceptions, but it is what it is. I mean, that's the worst week he played. David Carr actually played better than him for once. And I'm like, shit. And I thought he was going to do bad.
That would be a trick. He's been retired for several years.
I mean, Derek Carr.
I always say David. I don't know why. Derek Carr. The fantasy world knows what I'm talking about.
That's right.
So like I said, I haven't been doing fantasy this year, but I'd imagine Derrick Henry is one of, if not the top performer, right, in terms of fantasy points.
Oh yeah,
he is a top performer this year.
Right. So
he's outperforming all the quarterbacks too.
Right. So this is the thing. What makes anybody think they're going to make you a fair offer?
None.
Because that's just it. There's an old adage where you don't trade $1 for 4 quarters, because the dollar is more valuable than the 4 quarters, especially if you're talking about sports where you have a finite amount of roster spots, Yeah. It's like, you could acquire 4 guys who are going to make up the production of Henry, but then there's 3 other guys you're going to have to bump for your roster to make the trade anyway. Are you really ever coming out on top? And the answer is always going to be no.
No, because some of the guys that they're offering me, I would be dropping them. I wouldn't be keeping them. Right. I have better guys on my roster.
So you're not even technically trading for those guys. So it's like, it's really just spare me your ridiculous fucking offers. It ain't fucking happening.
I just hit decline right away.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just to say, and if you had to post a message to the whole league or whatever, just to basically say, I'm not fucking trading this guy.
Yeah. It is. It's just funny the people that try to offer me in the trade. Yeah. I think the only other person on par with Derrick Henry so far this year is Kyler Murray. I think they're the top 2 guys in fantasy as far as points wise are concerned.
So if you wanted to trade Kyler Murray, you want to straight up for Derrick Henry, then maybe you'd consider that offer. If you thought
that I would consider.
Right, but other than that, then it's just no, go away, please, thank you.
Yeah. So right now, Joe and I are both at 2-4 and sitting at the bottom of our divisions. We're in opposite divisions.
Hey, you could be worse. You could be 1-5 with no direction ahead of you. The New York Football Giants.
And just to give you an idea of how close it is, I've scored.
And I beat an undefeated team last week because of Derrick Henry, so I was super excited about that one.
I've actually outscored my opponents. I actually have a losing record, and I have scored more points than I've had scored against me.
Dude, I haven't even looked at that yet.
Let's see,
your points for and against are opposite. You have more points against you than for you.
Yeah, that stuff happens, of course, even in real life. But I've always found that I think it's harder for that to happen in fantasy. But yeah, that sucks to have like outscored your opponent and have a losing record. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's due to the one time my one game was like 130 some points to 85 or something like that. So I had like a 40-point swing. So
when my football team has like came back to reality, but no matter how bad my team is, at least they're not Pat's team. So
speaking of the Denver Broncos,
shots fired.
That wasn't really
That's like I don't give a fuck.
Pat knows his team's terrible. I'm just glad that like Denver's not that bad. They're bad. I mean, they looked terrible against the Clowns the other night.
Yeah, and it's like obviously the Giants have dealt with injuries and shit, but I don't want to hear the injury excuse this year for a few reasons. But the bigger problem is to worry about what's to come in the future, because even if they change GMs and coaches, it's like there's no fucking guarantee things are really going to change. So
no,
because the Giants do things a particular way, and it's so like they're always one of the most conservative organizations in sports. Like when free agency first came to be in the 90s, for years they just ignored it. They let players leave, but they wouldn't sign anybody from everybody else. They're like, we're going to keep building through the draft, and their drafts sucked those years. And the last time they had like their franchise was this pathetic for this long, it was like at the end of the late 70s, and Pete Rozelle, the commissioner, forced Wellington and Tim Mara, who hated each other at the time, to hire George Young, who wasn't within the organization in any way, shape, or form. And George Young basically saved the franchise and everything. But it's like they're going to go hire a GM, presumably this offseason. They're probably going to hire somebody who's in the organization right now. It's like, that's not going to solve a fucking thing. So it's like they need Pete Rozelle to come in and basically tell them, you need to hire somebody from outside the organization in order to save your fucking franchise again. So seriously,
you sound a little angry.
They have the worst record in the NFL since 2017. So
true.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, the future may not be any better for them. So, all right, rant over about
the they're the dumpster diving team. We like to live in the bottom.
Right now, they are. Yeah.
So since we are going into week 7, I think we're at a good point where we can make some legitimate predictions for where we see the playoffs going, and possibly who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl. Maybe not necessarily the Super Bowl.
Playoffs? What are you talking to me about, playoffs?
Now, see, that's where I wish I had the soundbite for. I love that fucking soundbite.
I know it is funny. It is awesome, actually.
But I mean, honestly, if we look at looking at the AFC, just to start here, we got coming out of the East. The Bills are legit. They're a legit team. They were a legit team last year, and they're just proving now that they are still right there at the top of the echelon in the AFC. Yep. They're definitely going to be the AFC conference, East champs. Yeah. That's what I was getting to, and I couldn't get it out of my mouth. The Chargers and the Raiders. I'm kind of it's kind of a toss up. And the Chiefs are still hanging in there because they're at 3-3 right now. I don't want to count the Chiefs out.
The Chiefs' problem is that they can't fucking stop anybody.
Right.
Yeah, they've been getting in their own way too this year.
And that's what and that's kind of where I was heading. Like, the Chiefs still have that high-powered offense. They can definitely pretty much, I don't want to say score at will, but they have that ability to score if you're not careful. Okay? But the problem is like Darth Pat just said, their defense gives up points. I mean, right now, their points for... right now they're at 185 points for to 176 points against. So their games, even though they're scoring a ton, they're still giving up a ton of points.
Never doing bad at that.
And I think Baltimore is the best team in the AFC right now.
I mean, Baltimore is sitting at 5-1. They're not. I don't want to say they're a high-powered offense because they're definitely not the highest scoring team in the league.
Baltimore's always had a good defense, though.
Right. Their defense, they are definitely one of the better defenses because when I look at points for, points against, there is a couple teams lower than them. And that would be the Bengals, surprisingly, the Bengals, the Jets, which
walk like an Egyptian,
and the Bills. The Bills actually have the best. They're at 98 points against. They're actually the best defense in the AFC right now.
They're actually they're the best defense in the whole NFL right now in terms of points allowed per game. Only the Saints have given up fewer points than the Bills, but the Saints have played one fewer game than the Bills. So.
Right.
So points allowed per game, Buffalo's actually best right now, which I didn't realize. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So the Ravens definitely are, they're definitely going to come out of the AFC North because, I mean, I'm surprised to see the Bengals at 4-2. I'll be perfectly honest. Like that kind of surprises me.
The Bengals might make the playoffs. Like Joe Burrow's good. He's a franchise guy. Like they can market that guy for the years as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, where did Burrow play before that? He played for somebody else, didn't he?
No, he's
okay.
Sorry,
You guys are both.
LSU.
Oh, you came out of LSU.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So he's a rookie.
And I think drafting Jamar Chase definitely helped. He's averaging 20 yards a catch. So you get a guy.
This is the second year.
Oh, it's a second year. Okay.
He got hurt in like week 5 last year.
Okay.
But he had the best,
and is it?
He had the best college season a quarterback's ever had in college football history when he was at LSU. He threw for like 50 touchdowns. Like it was ridiculous what he did in college. It was the best like individual season a quarterback's ever had in college football.
Yeah. And then you got
a nice completion percentage this year. So he's completing 71% of his passes.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll be honest, the AFC North, it's really, I'm going to say this. I really think that division's kind of a toss up right now because everybody's very, very close. You got the Ravens at 5-1, Bengals at 4-2, Browns at 4-3, and the Steelers at 3-3. And the Steelers could come back because you just don't know what fucking Steelers team you're getting on a week-to-week basis. They could be the Steelers team that knows how to play defense and score points, or they could be the Steelers team that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. For Steelers fans, I feel bad for you because it's like, dealing with somebody that's got. I can't even think of where I was going with that. But anyways,
they actually, the Steelers and the Clowns play on Halloween next weekend. So
that'll be funny.
Spooky.
But and then you go to the AFC South. You got the Titans, which this division like confuses the shit out of me. Like
they're legit though. They're winning that division.
Yeah,
they're winning that.
You got the Titans 4-2.
I don't think the Colts are coming back, and the Texans and Jaguars suck. So
yeah, the Texans and the Jaguars definitely suck. The Colts, who the hell knows what's going to happen with them? Because when you look at points for against points allowed, they've outscored their opponents, but still have 4 losses, which is kind of crazy.
If Jacksonville could play all their games in Europe, they might have a winning record because I think they're like 6-2 or 5-2 in the last 7 years when they play in Europe. They can't win their home stadium, but they can win in Europe for some reason.
So what you're saying is Jacksonville should move to London.
Oh, there'll be a team in London soon.
It's just really strange.
Jacksonville.
It's just really strange that they suck so bad, but they always seem to win when they play the game over there.
All right, and so now we move to So let's see who do we think see making the playoffs in the AFC. Like who do we think?
Buffalo, Baltimore, San Diego.
Who?
So we're doing. It's the 7 teams this year, right?
Yeah, they're doing 7 teams again. Yeah.
San Diego. Who's that?
Or Los Angeles, whatever. I'm sorry. The Chargers. I think Bills, Chargers, Ravens, and Titans are going to win their divisions, and then I think the Chiefs will be one of the wild cards. I think the Browns will probably end up getting in as one of the wild cards, and maybe the Raiders.
So we have. Let me just run this road down real quick. So Baltimore's at 1, Chargers are at 2, Tennessee's 3, Buffalo's 4, Cincinnati's 5, Raiders are 6, Cleveland 7. And then we have 8 and 9 with the Steelers and Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the current standings for playoffs
like I said,
if they happen right now.
So I think the Chiefs will find the Chiefs will get in, and then they're going to be that wild card team that nobody wants to play.
Yeah.
I will say Buffalo and Tennessee will definitely win their divisions.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I don't think Baltimore is the best team, because I think Buffalo is the best team, I'll say Baltimore will still win the North. And I'll say the Chargers are going to win the West because you just don't know what's going to happen with the Raiders, with the whole situation, of course, with the coaching change and everything. So I don't know. As far as the 3 wild cards, I will say Browns, Chiefs, and I'll go with the Bengals over the Raiders.
I would be okay if the Bengals make it. I would prefer they make it over the Raiders, but I'm trying to not think with my personal bias for teams I hate.
I think
it's always tough to do that.
The Raiders or Browns are going to shit the bed.
Yeah,
and Kansas City is going to go on a winning streak and they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's like the Browns kind of have the same problem where their defense isn't that great. What I'm saying based upon the points allowed, of course, they played 7 games now instead of 6. But like I said, the Raiders have all this tumult to deal with now. So that, and again, it's a little bit of an uncharted thing because it's not again like their coach was fired because he was a bad coach and the team was performing badly in that sense and everything. It's a very unique situation, so you don't know exactly. You don't know exactly how the players are going to react to it. And I don't even remember who the hell the coach is now. The name is the interim coach. So it's just a very unique situation that bears watching. So.
And I don't like the Ravens. I don't like Lamar Jackson at all. I can't stand him. So
I don't like the Ravens, but that's because I'm still holding a grudge from Super Bowl 35. So.
Well, I mean, they beat Denver. They beat Denver the first year Peyton Manning was there in that playoff game where the fucking secondary guy from Denver fell down with a minute left in the game, and then they set the game tied and sent the game into overtime. So I hate the Ravens. So too, I don't like the Bills either. So
I've always kind of liked the Bills, and I've always felt sorry for the Bills because it's like, I don't sorry for look, it's like, obviously I wasn't rooting for them in Super Bowl 25. That was the closest they came to winning the damn Super Bowl. And it went, progressively downhill, it seemed like every year afterward for them for that. And that was, that was a team that had such great talent. So I always did kind of like the Bills back then. And it's like, hey, when you talk about long suffering sports franchises, the Buffalo Bills have got to be at the top of the list. So.
I feel like fans from Buffalo are feeling like this after they lost the 4th Super Bowl.
Shut up! Yeah. The only reason the Bills get a pass for me is because all those crazy white trash hillbilly fans that go through the fucking tables like wrestlers in the parking lot when they're tailgating. They get a pass for that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Western upstate New York.
when one of your rookies, that's like a rite of passage. Like one of their rookies did that this year. Like after he got drafted, he went through.
Bless you, sir.
Excuse me. Sorry.
So yeah, I have to agree. It's definitely going. Just knowing what we know right now and seeing what we've seen. I definitely say the Bills, the Chargers, the Ravens, and the Titans win their division. It's a toss-up for me between the Browns and the Bengals, whether one of those gets a playoff spot. I think the Chiefs will start getting their shit together because I've never known Andy Reid to have a good team, a well-rounded team like that, and not be able to pull it together.
They still have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, so. And I'd have to say the Raiders probably are going to get that last one. So
NFC.
Yes. So. Yeah, let's move into the NFC and talk about the wonderful world of the NFC.
Who cares?
The NFC's like, if you're not one of the division leaders, you pretty much fucking suck. which goes, well, the NFC East. The Cowboys are on top, and the rest of the division's crap.
Yep, that's it. So I think we can all say the Cowboys are going to win the division, and the rest of the division blows. We don't need to mention the NFC East again.
Okay.
Wow.
Fair enough.
Wow.
Well, seriously, do you honestly see any? Do you honestly? I mean, we know the Giants are beyond help, but do you really see Washington or the Eagles making a run? I do not.
No. Unfortunately, no. This is legitimately going to be Dallas's year to actually win the division, and all the Cowboy fans are going to go ape shit and like, "Oh, we won the division." Okay, yeah, let's talk shit when you finally win a fucking playoff game since fucking 20 years ago or some shit. It is.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's what and I love it because Cowboys fans, and not to say that Eagles fans are any better because they like to hang on to shit too, but. That's the hardest part with being an Eagles fan is listening to Dallas Cowboys fans talk about how great they are. Listen, you haven't been great since Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith were there. Okay, that was the last time your team was great. You've had flukes where you guys have made playoff runs or made it to the playoffs, but you never did anything. Like going to the playoffs is one thing, but you got to win in the playoffs to say, okay, we're back.
They still, whether it was in our lifetime, they won all those Super Bowls. Yeah. And it's just like if a Browns fan tries to give me shit because they beat the Broncos the other day, you know what I'm going to say to them? Make it to the Super Bowl and we'll talk. Make it to one Super Bowl and we'll talk. That's the automatic defense mechanism of anybody who likes a team that's won. You're going to go back to that and say, my team's won. When your team wins, we'll talk. And I hate the Cowboys too. But they won a bunch of Super Bowls, and you can't really argue with that. So
right, and I'm not.
Yeah, but they haven't won playoff games since then. That's the issue.
Right. Yeah, it's like one year they were 13-3 and had home field advantage, and were supposed to be the team to beat that year, and they got beat on their home field by the Giants. So
yeah, so I'm not taking anything away from Super Bowl wins by any means. That's an accomplishment in itself, and you win them. But you can't talk about how great your team is now. When you're not doing anything now. That would be like me talking about how great the Eagles were prior to 2017 when they were going to all those the NFC championship games and fucking choking every year and be like, oh, we're so good. Like, no, we fucking blew our load every fucking time.
Hey, they thought Tony Romo was the issue why they couldn't win a playoff game. Wrong. Wasn't your issue.
No.
Those other issues, other reasons.
So let's move on to the West.
It would also be like me talking about, how great the Yankees are to a Red Sox fan. The Red Sox, can say, we've won 2 World Series since the Yankees last got to one and every other damn thing like that. So,
and that one's a little bit different though. That argument's a little bit different because they've won since we have. So that's a little bit different.
Yeah. And so have the Eagles and so have the Giants.
That's my point. Like saying,
my
like,
team,
if you're
0.
Sorry, Joe.
Well, right. Well, that's my point. Like, if you're a Cowboys fan talking about how great the Cowboys are to an Eagles or a Giants fan, the Eagles and the Giants fans can still be like, we both won Super Bowl since you did. So,
yeah. All right. So moving on to the NFC West. The Cardinals and the NFC West is going to be tough. I mean, the 49ers and the Seahawks are not coming out of the division as winners. That would be a miracle.
Once Russell Wilson got hurt, Seattle's season was over. So
yeah, if Wilson's out for more than a couple of games, and Seattle's definitely not doing anything. San Francisco could still be a wild card contender. It's a little hard to say, but obviously the Cardinals and the Rams. You can make an argument that the Cardinals and the Rams are the 2 best teams in the conference or even the league if you wanted to. I'm not, and there's a bunch of other 5-1 teams, of course, but I'm just saying that both the Cardinals and the Rams, I'm sure will make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah. I have to, I know, and week 2 when we were just talking about, who looks good, who doesn't, I made the comment that I have to see more from the Cardinals to say that I can believe that they're a legit team. They are a legit team. Like there is no doubt. They are legit. Like their offense is legit. Their defense is legit. They're going to be a tough fucking team to beat. I mean, they're 6-0. They're one of the only undefeated. They're the only undefeated team still.
Yeah. And what's also impressive about that too is that 4 of their 6 games so far have been on the road. So, they'll have more home games than road games the rest of the way. That'll help too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Rams are going to be tough.
Yeah, it's that those two teams are good. We're going to get to January, and that other team down in Florida with the certain quarterback is going to be in the playoffs, and it's going to be hard to bet against them again if they're healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So then you got the NFC North. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, fuck it. That's the Packers are putting that.
The Fudge Packers.
We got to play Tampa Bay next this Sunday tomorrow. We got to play. We have like the second or third hardest schedule in the NFL this year. Legitimately.
Yes, and I don't understand that because the Bears didn't have a great season last year either.
No, we legit have like a top 3 hard schedule, strength of schedule. It's insane. The teams we got to play this year.
It's because of the divisions you end up getting matched up against as to how that stuff happens. So like the Bears like play the AFC North this year, so they're playing all teams that so far are 500 or better. I mean, they've already played 2 of those games.
Yeah.
Can you pull that picture up and post that picture I sent you with the Aaron Rodgers? Can you do that, or I'll send it to Jeremy, or can you just pull it up?
I had to send it to my laptop to pull that up. It's a kid in a Bears Urlacher jersey there's a poster on the wall, and there's a kid in the Urlacher jersey giving Rodgers the middle finger. It's classic.
I saw it and I'm like, this is fabulous.
Speaking of Green Bay, I just pulled up because AJ mentioned this. So I wanted to see what the records of all the NFL teams who played in a European game or international game, whatever. Green Bay is the only team that has never participated in any international play. The only team. Fucking douchebags. How greedy.
How have they gotten away with that with how long they've been doing those games?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like sad when the Eagles had to go over to Europe and play. I was like, God damn it. Now I'm going to have to watch the game at a weird ass time. And
the Giants I know have played at least twice.
They've only played twice.
Yeah, they played the Dolphins the year they won the Super Bowl against the Patriots the first time, and I think then they played the Rams a few years ago.
So Jacksonville has played 8 times. They had the most. They're 4-4.
They're the team that like kind of always plays now, and it's because I think of like
they're 4-4. Okay.
Yeah, so they're 4-4. They played 8. Second most is the Dolphins. They played 5. They're 1-4.
Sounds about right for the Dolphins
Raiders
anymore.
The Raiders also have played 5. They're 2-3. And then the Rams have played 4. They're 2-2. And the Patriots are 3-0. There's 1, 2, 3. Patriots, Chiefs, Vikings, Saints, Giants, and 49ers. Well, actually, Panthers, Eagles, Seahawks, Cowboys are all undefeated. Playing one. They're 1-0, 2-0.
Yeah, 1-0. 1-0 don't count as undefeated. That's funny.
But it's interesting. I'm looking at this. I'm like, wow, the fucking Packers are only douchebags that have not fucking played in an international game.
So
that's just very surprising.
Folios.
They've been able to somehow avoid that, because you would think that the NFL would have said like, you got to go now. No.
Yeah, I mean it's the Packers, like
So I'm trying to figure out, so the Lions made that deal, Jared Goff for Matt Stafford.
Have fun with that one. That wasn't going to work.
I know they probably thought, hey, this should be a sweet deal for us. Stafford's old and Goff is young. But I don't think that's working out so well.
It shows you how shitty Detroit is.
Oh yeah, my God.
I think it was more about
change of scenery. I think they needed to, like Stafford, they needed to try something else.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing.
I think it was basically they're saying, look, we've had Stafford all these years, and this is as far as we've gone.
Right.
Which really is more of an indictment on the entire organization than on Matthew Stafford, of course.
Oh yeah.
But I think they were maybe saying, well, let's give him a chance, or maybe he can go to a team win. And like you said, we'll get a quarterback who's younger, who maybe has more years left on him. And hey, if he sucks and we continue to suck, well, then we'll just be pressing the reboot button. And so far, it looks like that's what they'll be doing.
Yeah, but how many years are the Detroit Lions going to reboot? They're on a constant reboot. They can't ever do anything right.
I mean, the Clowns were on a reboot for 20 years. I mean, the Browns have been rebooting for 20 years, and they finally seem to have figured it out. So
yeah, some teams just can't seem to ever get it right. And
well, and it's interesting because when the Rams were thinking about trading Jared Goff, my first thought was like, that is probably the best thing that they can do, because Jared Goff, even though they have a really good head coach that really understands how to play Jared Goff, he's not going to he's never going to be more than what he is in this league. Like he's peaked at this point in time. He's not going to be he's an superstar quarterback. Yeah, he's an average quarterback and was doing well in the system because the coach understood what was going to work for him. But he also knew that, okay, if this is all he can give me, I need somebody that can give me more if we want to win a Super Bowl. So he, a smart move, where for the Eagles, and I know we're going back to the Eagles, but for the Eagles, the Eagles didn't want to get rid of Carson Wentz, but Carson Wentz didn't want to be there anymore, because if you've paid attention to anything that happened over the last couple of years, they have the front office of the Eagles has systematically destroyed that freaking franchise since they've won the Super Bowl. They undermined the coach. They put a bad atmosphere in the locker room with, things. And people can say, well, it was Carson Wentz that lost his mind, But honestly, if you've got a franchise quarterback, how often under a brand new contract are you thinking about drafting in the first round a backup quarterback? That makes no sense. Most teams that have a franchise quarterback that believe in their quarterback are looking for what they did this year and go out and get an aged quarterback like a Joe Flacco to bring in and be like kind of that mentor quarterback that is not going to start. No, there's no worries about Joe Flacco starting a game. So to say that the front office wasn't undermining their franchise quarterback who they believed in, anybody that believes that is out of their freaking mind. They pushed Carson Wentz to want to leave, and they did what they needed to do to get Doug Peterson out the door and say, oh, we don't believe in this coach anymore. He's not good for our team. Bring him out, kick him out. All right. Yeah. Now, NFC South, we got the Buccaneers, and they're going to win that division.
That's it. That's all I got to say.
The Panthers looked like they were legit.
Until McCaffrey went down.
Yeah,
and
McCaffrey
they had some
went
defensive injuries as well.
Yeah, so
the McCaffrey injury is going to hurt them, but good news for them, they play the Giants tomorrow.
Yeah, they could climb back up to above 500.
Giants tomorrow. Oh,
what do you mean they could climb back to above 500?
Well, any given Sunday, anything can happen.
Yeah,
you never know. The Giants could pull one out of their buttholes, okay?
Yeah,
just like any given Saturday. Penn State can lose to Illinois.
The Giants won at the Saints a few weeks ago, so
All right, so real quick, NFC. I'll just. You got the Cowboys for sure, Cardinals for sure.
Yes.
The Packers and the Buccaneers. Now the Rams could win that division, so I don't know who's going to come out of the NFC West as the conference champion, or as the division champion, but. You're definitely going to have the Rams or the Cardinals either being either the winner of that and the wild card. And then the other one, two more wild cards.
So if you look,
I fucking don't know.
If you look at the playoffs right now,
the Bears or the Vikings might get in one of those two.
The Arizona, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Dallas, LA. That's 1 through 5.
Yeah.
6 is the Saints at 3 and 2. Then you have Minnesota, Chicago, Carolina, all at 3 and 3. San Francisco and Atlanta at 2 and 3.
Okay, so
there's 1, 2. Technically, I'm gonna be honest with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that might be able to get the last 2 spots.
I'll say the Saints, the Bears, and the Vikings get the last 3. Get the 3 wild cards. So
because to be honest with you. Cardinals, Bucks, Packs, Cowboys, and Rams, 6-0, and all the rest are 5-1. Those teams are going to have. I don't think any of them are going to have more than 5 losses this year.
No.
Those are your top 5 teams in the NFC right now, and then the rest of the spots is a crapshoot.
Yeah, you might as well just shoot.
Can play.
You just throw your line into the water and pick one out, and nope, there's your next wild card.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
this is a horseshoes and hand grenades type of situation.
The Rams, Saints, and Bears I'll take as the other 3 wild cards.
Okay.
I'll say Cowboys, Packers, Buccaneers all win their divisions.
We're assuming.
Yeah. I'll say the Cardinals are going to win the West. They already beat the Rams once in LA, so that gives them a leg up. Obviously, there's so many other games to play still, but I'll still say the Cardinals will win the division. The Rams will make the playoffs, though, as a wild card, definitely. My other 2 wild card teams, I'll say the Saints, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say the 49ers come back and win that last wild card.
Wow. He's going for the underdog.
Well, that's mostly me not having any faith in the Vikings, Bears, and Panthers. So.
No, I have no faith in the Vikings.
Oh,
no.
The Vikings and Bears pretty much almost have the same schedule except for a couple games here and there. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I have no faith in the Vikings because of who their quarterback is. And all of a sudden,
I have no faith in my team because our offensive scheme sucks. So, yeah.
Yes.
You're also playing a rookie quarterback, so that's also a little bit of an uphill battle too.
All right, somebody help me out with the Vikings quarterback. His name is Kirk Cousins. Yes, Mr. Inconsistent. He has no consistency about him in his game. Like I just remember watching him all the time with the Washington football team and be like, okay, Kirk Cousins, is he going to go for 404 or is he going to throw for 101 and 1? Like, which Kirk Cousins are we getting today? Because if we get the one that's thrown for 404 touchdowns, we're screwed. Like,
the Vikings are one of those teams. The Vikings are one of those teams though that are like 2 plays away from being like 5-2. So like they had bad when they lost to Cincinnati. I think Dalvin Cook fumbled the ball at the end of regulation, and the Bengals kicked a field goal to send the game. So they've had some unfortunate luck at the end of a couple games too. So
yeah,
I don't like Cousins either. But.
I mean, I think when you look at it though, it's like the teams that end up being there at the end are the teams that win those games, that are like on like the teams that like seem to perpetually like be like 1 play away or whatever like that. Those are usually the teams that just don't end up being there at the end of it all. So, yeah.
All right. And with that said, I think we can close the book on this conversation. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. I want to I want to segue into NBA. Ooh. Oh, play that again. I didn't hear that. I'm sorry. I was talking. Please.
This conversation is over.
Sweet. So, hey, Pat. Guess what? It's the NBA season. And guess what that means? Both our teams are undefeated. Yes.
and I mean,
our teams sit at the top of the NBA East right now.
I mean, I don't know how good Orlando is, but I mean that was a whooping. And then obviously the opening night game there, I guess, was a crazy ass affair with the Celtics for the Knicks. So, yeah. Hey, I'll pay at least cursory attention to them, of course. You know, just
ride the ship for as until it sinks,
until reality sets in for some of these teams that are starting off hot.
I expect the Knicks will be probably about the same place as they were last year, like, you know, middle of the pack Eastern Conference playoff.
They'll be in the playoffs. That's the thing. Both our teams will definitely be in the playoffs this year. Absolutely. I feel it.
Let's see I'm going to check and see who the Bulls have played.
They played Detroit twice and the Pelicans. Yes.
And look, when you root for a franchise, which is I just looked this up because I needed to know what the shoe was. You know, since the 2000-2001 season, so we're talking the last 20 years now, the Knicks have had exactly 4 winning seasons. You know, in 20 years. So
that's hard.
Even if they're only thinking that they're only going to be like a middle of the pack, you know, playoff team, you'll still take that because then you still have some optimism of like, well, they could still be building for the future. They still don't have like any like real bad crippling contracts like they always used to have. And the guys are more like, still younger type guys. And like, there's still like places where you can see where they can improve and maybe they can, things will happen, for the best. I mean, of course, they're still lacking that, big, huge franchise superstar player, which it seems like you absolutely have to have in order to win.
Randall's a beast.
So, yeah, but he's not
superstar status, but he's a high tier player though.
He's not LeBron. He's not Curry. He's not.
Yeah, but there's only 5 or 6 of those guys in the whole NBA. It's not like there's one of those guys on every team.
Right, but it seems like most of those are the teams that are always there at the end for the most part. So whatever. I mean, it's like I said, but I'll just ride.
Pat's got a point with that one.
Yeah,
I'll ride the good feelings for as long as they last, and as long as it seems like the franchise at least has like a little bit of a plan or an idea of what they're doing. And right now it seems like put it this way. I think the Knicks have a better idea of what they're doing and what they're planning and what they're building to right now than the Yankees do.
Yes, I knew where you were going with that.
So
listen,
I mean that's a different conversation, but that just shows that I'm a little
don't
bit more
be so judgy.
That I'm just a little bit more.
Pun intended with that one.
Wow,
I'm more optimistic about the Knicks right now than I am about the Yankees. So that's a different.
That was so bad.
It was bad, but it was a good one, Jeremy.
It took 1.5 games for a Steph Curry show. It took 1-2 games for a Steph Curry show already.
Yes, I heard that he went off against against the Lakers?
That's common though. That's not something that we're not expecting from him.
Yeah, but to 9 for 9 in a quarter is crazy. Like when anybody doesn't miss a shot, and then he kind of cooled off. They sat him on the bench. He cooled off for a while. And then at the end of the game, hit that 3 from almost half court.
Yeah, but that's something. The thing is, like, that's awesome. He does that, but that's what you expect from him anymore. For how long he's been in the NBA, that's for sure. So when you say stuff like that, I'm like, okay, he's having a Curry night. This is how I feel. He's having a Curry night. Yeah, legitimately.
Oh, Curry man.
Oh wow, you brought up Curry man. Whole TNA Curry man. I'm just happy that the Bulls finally listened to the fans and dumped the horrible GM and all that shit and revamped everything. And now look, we actually have a good fucking team.
Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with the Sixers. The Sixers are
nobody knows what happens because Ben Simmons drama.
Oh God.
So for anybody who's been paying attention to
right now.
Yeah. So evidently I have 2 guys that have been paying attention to the NBA. But anybody else out there that's been paying attention to the NBA, and I mean the Sixers are just all over the fucking news because these mega dumbasses are causing all kinds of problems, and particularly one person in particular is Ben Simmons, because he decided he didn't want to report for practices and preseason games and all this other shit, and was getting fined out off his ass. And then once he got enough fines and wasn't getting paid his check, he decided to show up. Well, then he shows up in sweatpants and like a fucking sweatshirt and had his phone in his pocket, and they fined him and sent him home. So, like it's terrible. Like he's not
merry-go-round of drama.
He sounds like Shawn Michaels circa 1997.
Jeez.
And it's just, for me as a fan of any sport, and this is your job. Like, this is your job. You have a contract. You sign this contract to say, this is what I'll do. This is how I'll be. And it's your job as a professional athlete to go out and do your best. Okay? Now, nowhere in the contract does it say you have to improve your game, you have to get any better or anything like that. But
it's the concept.
It's the concept. I'm going to improve on my game. I'm going to get better. I'm going to become whatever I think the best version of me as a player is going to be. There is nobody that has ever watched Ben Simmons And I'd love to talk to them. I'd love to hear them comment. So if you want to comment and you want to put it in there, on Facebook, on wherever. There has never been a person that can honestly admit and say Ben Simmons has gotten better as an NBA player from day one to now. Like it's not a fucking fact. Like it's the complete opposite. He is completely the same player that he has been. He has not improved anywhere in his game.
And that's why nobody wants to trade for him, because the Sixers are asking for 4 or 5 people, and everybody in the NBA knows he's not worth that many people.
No. Nope. The interesting thing is he's not helping himself. Like Ben Simmons, if he wants to get traded and doesn't want to play for the Sixers, that's fine. I don't give 2 fucking shits. Okay, maybe I'll give a 3rd shit, but I don't give 2. All right.
That's a lot of dumps for you too, buddy. That's a lot of shit's coming out your ass if you're saying that.
But honestly, he's not helping himself. If he wants to help himself, he should be there and he should be helping his team. You want to get traded, you don't want to be there, you don't want to get fined, then go increase your trade value. Be the player that other teams think you can be if you want to get traded. Like, that's just the way it works.
Besides him, the other NBA person who wants the headlines is Mr. Kyrie. I'm a piece of shit, Irving. So,
well, that's another. I mean, regarding Simmons, this is a situation where I think both sides don't really look good.
No, the Sixers organization enabled him to look like this and act like this.
But this is, to me, it's like whenever you hear about like superstar players wanting out, it's usually because the team sucks. It's like, I'm just like tired of losing. I want to win sometime. I keep wondering when Mike Trout's going to force the Angels to do that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that day.
Yeah, but I mean, his whole gripe basically is I got booed, right? Is that really what it comes down to?
It's that.
Some of it, his feelings hurt.
Yeah, it's some of that.
I think the fans and everybody's too critical of me.
Right. Well, I think the other thing, one of the other things I've heard
too is.
Go ahead,
Johnny. No, it was just he got a lot of backlash from his peers.
Mm-hmm.
And not so much as some of the peers that are currently playing, but a lot of the ex-players in regards to the whole situation, how he played, and not just like a couple, I mean, dozens of ex-NBA players, old and current ex-NBA players kind of, laid into him and criticized him for how he's played, how he's acted, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And it seems like he knows how to take constructive criticism from anybody. He just wants to put the blame on something else.
And one of the other things that the local radio stations have been mentioning before you finish your thought there, Pat, is that there's two things happen like early in his career. Like I should say one thing actually happened early in his career is Joel Embiid became a big star within Philadelphia. He embraced the fans, he embraced the city, and he shows up when he's not hurt. He's fucking there, and he plays his ass off.
There's a word in that sentence when he's not hurt.
Right, and that's the problem with having him be your major superstar. But Ben Simmons now had to share the limelight and that spotlight with Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid became a bigger name than he did because the kind of personality that Joel Embiid has made him become a good person
in general too, like outside the NBA. He's a good person.
That's kind of like what happened with Kyrie in Cleveland when LeBum showed up. The same thing kind of happened there. Kyrie's like, I didn't want him here. This was supposed to be my team. I'm going to go somewhere else and be a dick there. And then I'm going to go somewhere else and be a dick there. But that's a similar circumstance to what happened with Kyrie. He didn't really, the Cavs drafted Kyrie and then the LeBum came back.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't know where Ben Simmons thinks he's going to go and he's going to be the main superstar because there's other teams that have players that are just as, I don't want to say just as good as him, but just as big as a star as he is. Whether they're as good of a player or not, that's not the point. They're just as big as stars as him.
The Pacers are in Magic.
But he's not going to go to any team that has he's not going to go to a team where he's going to be a winner. Like that's for sure. The only team that he's going to have a possibility of winning with currently is the Sixers that but he don't want to be there. So it's crazy. Darth Pat, what did you want to finish off saying? And I want to hear, I really like to talk a little bit more about Kyrie, because I don't know all the things that are going on. I know a little bit of kind of what started the whole thing.
Basically, I was going to say, if his problem is that he's getting, for lack of a better term, picked on for whatever, whether the criticism is legitimate or not, dude, you got to filter that shit out. You're not going to be a successful athlete, any sport, if you
lets you hurt your feelings.
If you can't put the earmuffs on and filter out the noise and just focus on being the best player that you have, or at least not so obviously visibly letting it affect you. Because for all we know, like I remember Michael Jordan in his Hall of Fame speech, kind of was like going after like the people who had doubted him at various points, and it was like, people were saying it was like a heel heel WWE promo, how he was like going after the naysayers and all this and that. And it's like, so shit, he could have been holding those grudges against, those people for years and years and everything while he was a player. But I don't ever really remember times where he was like so outwardly letting that be known that it like bothered him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was consuming him internally, but he didn't let it show externally. So if you can, do that, then yeah, you're not going to be successful anywhere where you are. So
no,
he probably, and like you said too, it's like, yeah, obviously the Sixers are asking the moon for him, and they probably should, because, well, for one thing, it's a negotiation. You always start out at one spot, and you obviously would need to come down and whatever. But yeah, it's like if he truly wants out too, the best way that he could probably help himself in that would be to show up, play like, a superstar, and show other teams that he is worth trading for. So
yeah, I'll just say this to kind of end this whole thing and move on to a little bit of Kyrie Irving. Is in this day and age, I know it's different for athletes now than it was 10 to 15, even 20 years ago. Okay, definitely 20 years ago, because social media plays such a big part in who these athletes' personas are, and the fact that they can be constantly berated by naysayers, instead of just hearing it from the reporters. Now they're, they log onto their social media, they go to post something, and they read all the negative comments that they get, or they see negative feeds about their play, that's not even on their, particular handle. They just, something pops up on a news feed or something like that. So, it definitely is different for them in the amount of negativity that they can see, as well as the amount of praise that they can see. But one of the things that I think has changed a lot is there's that old saying, you have to have a thick skin. And athletes nowadays, most, I want to say at least 50%, maybe a little bit more, do not have thick skins anymore. They are so hurt by what people say and let that affect them so much in the way that they play, the way that they conduct themselves. And if there's any place besides being like an actor or an actress in the movies or on television shows that you have to have a thick skin, and it's playing sports, like you have to have a thick skin. Like if you can't have a thick skin, you're not going to be able to make it in sports in that level, because you will get your feelings hurt. You will be let down. People will turn on you, and it's going to happen. It's bound to happen. Especially nowadays when you have such massive access to that information at such a consistent basis. So
yeah, he's got to flip the switch and use it in a positive, give it some fuel to the fire to make himself be a better player, work on that. Hey, maybe these guys are right. Maybe I suck at doing this. Maybe I should work on this over the summer, whatever. Seriously.
Turn off the fucking social media.
Yeah.
All right. So AJ, tell us a little bit about Kyrie, because like I said, I know I heard that he wasn't playing for some reason.
In that state, you have to be vaccinated to play inside or whatever, and he's not going to get vaccinated, so he's not playing any games at home. And then they kind of went back and said that I don't think he's playing any games at all. Like the franchise won't let him, and he's getting fined for not playing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's not vaccinated. Supposedly he's not against it, but he's not really for it. So
he's pro-choice in
therefore-
this case.
Yeah. So
And his choice is no.
Yeah. So
well, I've heard varying things about that too. So
there's a lot of stuff. So I mean, and plus since he's not vaccinated, AJ's right. You have to be, in an indoor event, you have to be vaccinated and all that jazz.
Yeah, state of New York's pretty strict with that stuff. Yeah.
So I actually saw, and none of us, me, you, Jen, I know you don't. I don't particularly like Stephen A. Smith, but I saw him do a take about Kyrie, and he got Kyrie, like he got him good, because he was like, I guess Kyrie's got backlash against Stephen A. Smith now because Stephen A's like, calling him out, saying, this is your job. You got Durant and you got people to come play at this franchise with you.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're kind of turning your backs on those guys, essentially. That's kind of what, so I guess like Stephen A. Smith was friends with Kyrie at some point, and like he said that there was like some documentary that was made about Kyrie on Netflix or something that came out a couple years ago, and Stephen A. Smith is the voice on that documentary. So he did that for Kyrie, and now Kyrie's like turned his back, and Stephen A. Smith shit on Kyrie. He's like, "You're an asshole. Like, why are you being like this to me?" And I don't usually agree with Stephen A. Smith, and that was one of the few times where I saw him, and I'm like, all right, Stephen A. Smith's right on this one. Kyrie's being a dick, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like Kyrie,
So yeah,
Kyrie
some of
doesn't
some of the other stuff in that take that Stephen A. said is, being black and whatnot, and when you're a black person, there's other immunities and issues you have as being black. Different ethnicities have different issues as far as health issues are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So he was also like, when I have family members or go see black people dying from the virus in hospitals and things of that nature, friends passing away and all that stuff, and you can get something that can kind of help you, not saying not going to get it, but kind of helping you fight it off so you don't die like all the other black people in the community. He was kind of saying you're doing a disservice to yourself, and you're doing a service to your community, and you're doing a service to your teammate and the franchise. Is kind of how he was out. Other things he was putting it to.
He was definitely calling him out for not being a leader. He was like, you're supposed to be this guy. And he's like, you were in Cleveland, LeBron came, you went somewhere else, you went to Boston, promised the fans you weren't going to leave, then you left there. So he was calling him out for not being the leader that he's supposed to be. And he's 100% right for calling him out for that, because Kyrie's not a leader. He should be, but he doesn't want to be. Like, he wants to be, but then he doesn't want to be. And he's never lived up to that, being the leader. Like, he wants to be, he's okay in his head. He thinks he's the leader, but on the court and in real life, he's not ever really stepped up and been that leader type person. So,
because to beat a man, you've got to beat the man.
I enjoy watching this guy be a complete piece of shit, because I hate him and I hate everything about him. I can't stand him. As soon as he put the Duke uniform, it was over for me and this guy. So I can't stand him. So I enjoy watching all this drama with him unfold. Like Durant's like, oh, I'm going to go here and win another championship here. And now Kyrie's not going to play all year, possibly. And it's just really entertaining to me to watch Kyrie try to manipulate people and act like a douchebag.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I can admit I'm sorry, Jeremy. I can admit I'm very much also enjoying seeing some of this as somebody who's never liked Kyrie since he went to Duke. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like it just, like, I get it. You're trying to take you're taking a stance if that's what you're doing. Like, and it sounds like that's kind of what he's doing. He's taking a stance. I don't want to be vaccinated. I shouldn't have to be vaccinated. Whatever his stance is, if he's trying to make one, I get it. But
yeah, but you're in the position that he's in, Jeremy. You don't really want to get it, and you got it for your job. So you, if anybody, should like get this more than the rest of us, even.
Right.
Probably.
So and the thing that's interesting about this is at his level is like he has tons of money. Like he's definitely not hurting for money. You know, my situation's a little bit different than that because I need a job. I mean, like I can't go without my job.
He could retire from the NBA right now. He'd be fine for the rest of his life. We do that, we're fucked.
The principle of it's the same.
Right. The principle of it is the same. Like, and it affects him, like his unwillingness to comply with this. And like I said, I get it. And if you are a social media person, like I go on Facebook and stuff, and I see all these people that we support Kyrie. Like, that's right. Stand up for your rights. Don't have your rights taken away. Don't comply with the federal government. Like, okay, like settle down, like relax. You keyboard warriors. Like, just take a step back. All right. Because you don't know the whole story why he's not doing it. Like none of us know, and probably never will know, because Kyrie's going to keep that to himself, just like he did with the whole thing. I don't think I'm going to play in the playoffs because I'm going to go help people in underprivileged countries. Like that was really weird too. So whatever his reasoning is, but it's in his contract. Like this dude is getting fined on a daily basis for not showing up to his thing. So like that to me, like I'm not going to purposely throw my money out the window to make a stance. Like, if anything, if he doesn't want to do it and he's done with playing in the NBA, which it sounded like he was going to be done playing in the NBA when the playoffs came last year, ask for out of your contract. Retire. Yeah.
Just retire.
Retire and get out of your contract and just call it a day. You have nothing left to prove in the NBA. You've won a championship. People know that you can play. They know you can score. Like there's nothing to prove. Like just
if he feels
retire.
like he's done, just do it.
Yeah. Like, and it's okay. Nobody will have any hard feelings about you just retiring and saying that's it. Like it'll take all the drama away. Your team will probably be better without you at this point with what you're doing.
We'll find someone to replace him. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean,
no, go ahead.
No, I'm
gonna go. I was gonna do something on a lighter note here.
Okay,
that's enough Kyrie crap.
So as I was scouring through,
scouring.
The social media things I follow and sports related items.
Mm-hmm.
I found something interesting. So I'll get you guys' take on this. So there's two different teams here. Each team has 8 players. And it said, which team would win in a 7-game series?
Okay.
Oh,
MVPs without championships. And this team consists of
Karl
Malone, Allen Iverson. Slow down there. I'm not asking you to guess. I'm just going to tell you the teams that we're going to figure this out. So Karl Malone, Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley, Steve Nash, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose, and Nikola Jokic. How the hell you say his name?
I just call him Jokic.
Jokic. That's a good nickname, actually. I like that.
Jokic is nice.
Nikola Jokic.
He's so vulgar.
And then the other team is have won championships without winning an MVP. Kyrie Irving.
Nice.
Gary Payton, Paul Gasol, Jason Kidd, Paul Pierce, Scottie Pippen, Dwayne Wade, and Kawhi Leonard.
Okay, I'm taking the second team. I can already tell you that right now.
So I think I would take the second team too, for one reason. There is a cancer on the first team.
Well, there's a cancer on the second team too. His name's Kyrie.
I know, but I think the rest of the guys.
There's two cancers on the first team.
Yeah, Iverson. That's that. My thing is that Iverson would be hogging the ball too much. Whereas I think on the second team, I think there'd be at least enough of a share the rock mentality. So
the two cancers on the first team are Harden and Westbrook.
And Iverson.
I would put those two ahead of Iverson.
You know, you got to remember, you know, they would have to, you know, come together as a unit, and the only way you can do that is through practice. And we all know what Iverson thinks about.
See, okay, so I have to step in and say this. I know you guys are saying Iverson was a cancer, but Iverson also led his team to the NBA championship.
I don't think he would be a cancer.
He led him to the final.
Well, to the finals. I'm sorry, to the finals. Okay, so as much of a cancer as he appears to be, that was towards the end of his career with the Sixers that he became more of a problem than a answer.
You may not like this, but I actually think Iverson's overrated, and I don't think he's as good as most people think I think he's a bum, and I've never really liked him, and I thought he was overrated when he was in college, and I think he was overrated as an NBA player. So I'm not on the Iverson train. I was never on it. So I don't like him. So maybe what you say is right to some degree. Maybe Joe's right. Maybe those other two guys are bigger cancers than him, but I still consider him a cancer.
Well, and I don't think James Harden is a cancer. I think James Harden is a fucking choke artist. Like, he just falls apart when he's needed the most. Like, he's just like, the playoffs are here.
Westbrook is more of a cancer.
Yeah, Westbrook is definitely a cancer. Like, and not even like, I don't want to even say he has a bad attitude, but he's not a teammate. Like, and that's the problem that's his cancer. Like, he's not a teammate. He's like, I got to get mine. Like, you know, when he made that comment, I'll do whatever the coach needs me to do. What if he asked you to be a team? What if he asked you to be a team player?
Well, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out over the course of this NBA season if Russell Westbrook can take direction from a player coach, because LeBron's on that team and he's a player coach. So we're gonna find out if Russell can like change his game to acclimate to LeBron. And most people, as much as I don't like LeBron, I will never ever say that LeBron doesn't make players around him better. I will never take that away from LeBron, because he is one of those players that has that gift of making people around him better players than they are. He's taken two really terrible Cavs teams to the finals in his career. You don't just do that because you're lucky. So if Westbrook doesn't bond with LeBron, this is where we're really going to see if Westbrook is that, because usually LeBron can get through to people and get them to cooperate and buy into the whole thing. Usually LeBron can do that. So if Westbrook doesn't fall into that, then we're really going to know that he really is just that much of a cancer and he just can't figure it out.
Well, it's going to be interesting because before we started the show, Joe brought to light the fact that AD and freaking you said that. I said so. AD and Dwight Howard got into a scuffle in the fucking beginning of the game in their own huddle.
Game two. And
we wonder why they're 0-2 to start.
And people might think the word cancer is a bit over aggressive, but it's kind of a common word used in sports for a long time for players who don't, you know, on various levels are not team players and cause issues and things of that nature. But I just found that post that I found pretty.
That's interesting.
So I would have to take team 2 also.
Yes.
I just think that collection.
Wade, Pippen, and Paul Pierce is why I would take that team. Those guys are all winners. They've been there. They've made big shots in big times of games. Those three guys have all made big shots, and they want the ball in their hands. Like those are the guys I want on my team. Wade, Pippen, and Pierce.
And you said Steve Nash is on that team too?
No, Steve Nash was on the first team.
He was on the first team. Okay. Like I look at that second team and I say, yeah, they were maybe the role players on their championship teams, but like AJ just said, they know how to win, and knowing how to win and work together with other players is more valuable to me than having MVPs on my team. Because having an MVP on a team doesn't mean you're going to be a win. That means for that particular season, they were the best player or viewed as the best player in the NBA. That doesn't mean their team won the fucking NBA championship. That just means that they were the best player in the NBA.
Well, anybody that won the MVP in Michael Jordan's tenure when he didn't win it wasn't going to win the finals that year. We know that. So
when Karl Malone won it and then got their team got crushed.
Barkley and Malone are two of the guys that fell into that trap.
That was enough motivation for Jordan to prove everybody fucking wrong.
So
that's all he needed.
Barkley won the MVP that year. I always felt it was one of those situations where it was like he was new to the team and he led the team to the success. I mean, like the same reason like why Kirk Gibson won the MVP of the year the Dodgers beat the A's in the World Series. It was like he was that missing piece, so he led the team to the
Barkley actually played really good in the finals that year against the Bulls, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like Barkley
he did.
So like Barkley was the second best player in the NBA that year, and Karl Malone, the year he won it, he was probably the second best player in the NBA that year.
I'm not saying that Barkley was like bad that year or didn't have a good season or anything. I'm just saying that it's like the narrative is what drove like people's like awards vote rather than say like the actual like numbers or this.
I mean, because put it this way, like what did Phoenix do before Barkley got there? They were building a team, and then Barkley got there, and that was kind of like the piece to get them to the next level.
Well, and here's the thing: if you go back and look at that series, and Darth Pat, if you don't mind pulling it up, between the Bulls and the Suns, if my memory serves me correctly, and this is why I want Darth Pat to pull it up, I want to say those games were pretty close. Like they weren't like there might have been one blowout game, but I want to say most of those games were very close. Even though the Suns, I think, lost that series, 4-1. I think they lost 4-2. Okay, 4-2.
Yeah, it was.
They were all close.
Series. Game 1, games 1 and 2 in Phoenix. The Bulls won by 8 and by 3. Game 3 in Chicago, Phoenix won by 8. Game 4 in Chicago, the Bulls won by 6. Game 5 in Chicago, Phoenix won by 10. In Game 6 in Phoenix, the Bulls won by 1. So yes,
Paxson hit that 3. That's the Paxson 3.
Yeah.
Yes. So the biggest margin of victory was 10 points, and so it was a very close series.
And the reason that I point this out is not to say that the Phoenix Suns they were definitely deserving of being there. I mean, they gave the Bulls pretty much everything they could, but they ran into what a lot of teams ran into, and that was the Bulls in the playoffs, in the championship. With Jordan. Like it's hard to overcome that because the Bulls were so good at that time, and Jordan always turned it up in the championships. Like he always turned it up in the championship. Like it was really, really hard to beat the Bulls at that time when Jordan was there. Like it was just gonna be that hard.
Phoenix had the best record in the NBA that year. They were 62-20. The Bulls weren't even the 1 seed in the East. They were the 2nd seed at 57-25. The Knicks were 60-22 that year, and they were the 1 seed in the East. And like you said, in the playoffs, they swept the Hawks in 3 games. The Hawks had won 43 games that year. Then the Bulls went and played Cleveland, who had won 54 games, and the Bulls swept them. And then they beat the Knicks in 6 when, like, again, the Knicks had the better record that year. So.
Well, yeah, because and I'm pretty sure Patrick Ewing was still with the team.
And the Knicks won the first 2 games in that series too.
Right, and John Starks was still there, right? At that time,
that's when Starks was still reasonably okay.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure if I remember from
Starks didn't throw that series away. That was the next year.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly. Jordan really, really I don't want to say disliked, but really had a thing for John Starks because John Starks really talk shit and thought he was that much better than probably what he was. And Jordan loved putting him in his place.
Oh yeah. Yeah. John Starks was one of the easiest players to hate. And that's even if he played for your team, because he was the very definition of the guy that if he's not on your team, you hate him.
Right.
If he's not on your team, you like him when he's doing well, but when he's fucking up, you absolutely positively love him.
When he's going 2 for 17 in a finals game, clinching game.
Right. That's exactly it. So it's like you run hot and cold with a guy like him, in the best of times. In the worst of times, it's basically like I don't even want to acknowledge you.
Jeremy, can you?
I will not acknowledge you, Roman.
I pulled up the snubs, but can somebody pull up the 75, the guys that were the 75 greatest players of all, like the NBA just.
I already have. I have it up.
I have
cool.
the snubs. I have the snubs list up. So
can I ask one quick thing about this list?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm sure Joe will probably know this. Now, that NBA 50 list that they did 25 years ago,
all the people
They're all on it.
list are on there.
they kept those 50
Yes.
guys and then just added 25 to them.
Essentially.
Correct?
26. There was a tie.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know who the
No,
two
just 'cause
players
I
that
was like- I
tied.
was-
I didn't look.
No, just because
But yes, you're correct.
when I was looking back over the list and I was just like looking at the stats for like some of the older guys, I was saying to myself, it's like, yeah, if you look at just their stats, it doesn't hold up. So it's like, I didn't really know if they should maybe still be on the list. There was a few guys I was saying that about, but at the same time, this isn't my area of expertise. So,
The snubs some of them made me laugh. So, Klay Thompson's gotten a lot of shit because he was a snub. Like,
okay.
his teammates have been giving him a lot of shit. I actually talked to Jay today, and we actually both thought Klay Thompson should have made it. I don't think Ray Allen should have made it personally. I think Ray Allen shouldn't have been on the 75. So he would be probably the person I would take off for sure.
Yeah,
So,
I would have Ray Allen ahead of Klay Thompson, but that's just a knee-jerk reaction without looking at it.
Man, it's hard to say because Ray Allen was kind of like, I want to say, from my recollection of seeing Ray Allen play, he was like the start of like a premier 3-point shooter, like what we see a large amount of guys now start to be like the premier, like their game is the 3-ball. That was Ray Allen, like for so many years. That was like his thing. So it's hard to say.
He started off as like an all-around player, being like the top guy on his team, and then as time went on, I think more or less when he joined the Celtics with Garnett and Pierce, they each all ended up having their specific roles. Like Allen did a lot of other stuff, small things here and there, but I think it's where he really upped his game with like 3-pointers and not just jacking up threes whenever, but like crucial moments to hit threes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that was like his kind of like Robert Horry in the playoffs.
Robert Horry, good old Robert Horry.
Big shot, like a big shot Horry, you know what I'm saying? Or hitting those shots. Ray Allen, kind of did the same thing.
Carmelo's another one. I don't know about Carmelo either. I'm
being on the list? He's on the list?
Yeah, he's on the 75. I would definitely, if you're gonna say keep Ray Allen, Klay Thompson goes over Carmelo for sure. Like without hesitation, I would put Klay Thompson on this list over Carmelo Anthony. So
I'll run down the list for you, Jeremy. So
okay. So we're going all 75 of them.
Yeah.
So we got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Never heard of him.
Ray Allen, Giannis, Carmelo Anthony, Nate Archibald, Paul Arzine, Charles Barkley.
I thought it was a reason, but
it could be. I'm not good at pronounce names like that.
That's all right.
Charles Barkley, Rick Barry, Elgin Baylor, Dave Bing, Larry Bird, Kobe Bryant, Will Chamberlain, Bob Cousy, Dave Cowens, Bill Cunningham, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Dave the Boucher,
Busher.
Clyde Drexler, Tim Duncan, Kevin Durant, Julius Irving, Patrick Ewing, Walt Frazier, Kevin Garnett, George Gervin, Hal Greer, James Harden,
Okay.
John Havlicek, Elvin Hayes, Allen Iverson, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Sam Jones, the GOAT, Jason Kidd, Kawhi Leonard, Damian Lillard, Jerry Lucas, Karl Malone, Moses Malone, Pete Maravich, Bob McAdoo, Kevin McHale, George Mikan, Reggie Miller, Earl Malone, Steve Nash, Nowitzki, Olajuwon, Shaq Attack, Robert Parrish, Chris Paul, Gary Payton, Bob Pettit, Paul Pierce, Scottie Pippen, Willis Reed, Oscar Robinson, David Robinson, Dennis Rodman, Bill Russell, Dolph Shays, Bill Sherman, John Stockton, Isaiah
Sharman.
Thomas,
Best Sharman.
Nate Thurman, Wes Unsled, whatever. D Wade, Bill Walton, Jerry West, Russell Westbrook, Lenny Wilkins, Dominique Wilkins, and James Worthy.
And anybody from before my lifetime, I'm not going to argue about those people because I didn't watch all of them and stuff. So if they're on this list and it happened before I was like watching basketball, I kind of let that go. So,
Well, yeah, you can't have an opinion on something you don't know nothing about, right?
Carmelo and Ray Allen are the two to me that I would take off. So,
all right, and for all our fans, I put that up there. I added that to our feed there. I put a comment with the picture from that.
I guess I'm kind of surprised by Rodman being there, but
Rodman, you have to give it to Rodman. He's probably the greatest defensive player to ever play the game.
No, he's the best defensive rebounder I've ever seen. I don't know. I still think Olajuwon is the best defensive player I've ever seen, but Rodman was the best rebounder I've ever seen.
Darth Pat, don't die on the show, man.
I've told you before, I will die when and where I want to.
So here are the people who voted for this panel.
Here's my one problem with this. Robert Parrish is on there. I don't like Robert Parrish being on there because he was in my personal opinion, he was a product of the players that he played with. He was brought onto that team and he was shit before he got there. He became a better player when he got there because of the people around him, especially the one particular person who we all know and love, which would be, and now his name eluded my
Larry Bird.
Thank you, Larry Bird.
I mean, he's an arguable person. I think he's somebody you could argue that maybe you might not be wrong with what you just said, Jeremy. He's a product of a system potentially.
Let me run down the list who voted on this. This is the
boy.
voting panel. And this is most likely the voting panel for the other now 26 players that were added. So Kareem, Marv Albert, Dave Aldridge, Sam Amick, Giannis, Steve Ashburner, Barkley, Rick Barry, Howard Beck, Sue Bird, Dave Bing, Carl Balatsowski, don't know, Mike Bren, Doris Burke, Jerry Colangelo, Doug Collins, Cynthia Cooper, Bob Costas, Dave Cowens, Bill Cunningham, Steph Curry, Tim Duncan, Dave Dupree, Clyde Drexler, Wayne Embry, Julius Irving, Patrick Ewing, Walt Frazier, George Gervin, Russ Granick, Becky Hammond.
You're naming so many people that don't like the new style of play.
Elvin Hayes, Ernie Johnson, Magic Johnson, Sam Jones, Michael Jordan, Steve Kerr,
Most of the newer people, like most of the people that are currently playing that are on the list, most of them belong on there.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that.
So
there's only a handful of current players, and Dirk Nowitzki, Rachel Nichols, Robert Parrish, Greg Popovich, Pippen, Pettit, Chris Paul, Candace Parker voted on this, Rod Thorne, Rudy Tomjanovich,
it's all
Michael Wilbon.
It's all people that like their opinion. They're like they have ties to basketball, so it's not like they pick people like like some of the people they've picked to do the playoff panel in college football. It's not like they've picked some of that shit. This is all people that have basketball ties.
Right. I'm not disagreeing with that.
It almost sounds like all the players who were on the NBA 50 list who were still alive were voting.
There's a good majority of them. And there's like there's a good handful of people that are like columnists, like and in media of some aspect
a lot of broadcasters and writers on there. It sounds like.
I saw somebody post something today where they were like talking about, I guess during the Lakers last night, they said Doris Burke was riding LeBron's jock the whole game. And somebody was like, Doris Burke is a LeBron jock rider. I'm like, that's a nice way of saying LeBron dick sucker. We usually call it the worst version of it. That's a nice way of saying that.
I mean,
alrighty then.
some other people have like mentioned Tracy McGrady,
Yes,
Ginobili, Tony Parker, Alonzo Mourning, Ben Wallace as snubs.
Or was Dikembe Mutombo?
Yeah, he was
Not in my house.
Right,
For
the
me-
guy alone should have got him on there.
for me. Thompson and McGrady were probably the biggest snubs, but McGrady never won a playoff series.
Yeah, I
So-
think if McGrady would have had a better overall career, it wouldn't have been a question. Like,
And
he
when they
just-
do,
It's like where's the what are they doing is the drawing the fine line of who gets
right,
on and
what
who gets
are the
off,
what was the
too.
criteria for them to even be considered for the top 75 players?
I was definitely glad Vince Carter didn't make the top 75. Any business on that list, so I was happy to see he didn't make it.
No, his
He
claim
was-
to fame
he
was
his name showed up as being a
A snub.
too.
yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
I mean, his real claim to fame, I mean, and not to take anything away from his ability or talent, but it was like dunking like that. I felt like that was his big claim to fame. Like that's all you ever heard about him, how, and a dunk here and a dunk there, So
I think Carmelo is probably the person that, if I could pick one person on the list, I don't know why he's on there personally. So
yeah, I'm a little surprised by Carmelo too. I mean, and it's not to say that he hasn't had a great career.
he's had a better career in the Olympics, though. He's had a better career in like that kind of basketball than he almost has in the NBA. Like
Yeah.
he's a really good FIBA player, but I don't know if he's one of the 75 best NBA players, especially when you got somebody like Klay Thompson floating around, who's got rings, who's one of the best two-way players in the NBA right now when he's healthy. He's one of the best defensive guards in the NBA. You got a guy who can play on both sides of the ball. Carmelo's not a guy that can play on both sides of the ball. So
Yeah, well, neither is James Harden. James
Right.
Harden is a stat. He's a stat machine for offensive playing, and he's also one of the all-time greatest. Like, let me create my own foul when nobody's even touching me because I've hooked him. Or
they changed the rules now. You can't like jump into somebody and get the foul called. They've like changed.
I know.
That rule.
I would like to know how many foul calls he's had against him, since that is not a possibility anymore, where he can create the foul by hooking or jumping or.
Well, he travels all the time. He does a lot of other things that he gets away with, like Harden. He's just real slimy. He's like a slimy basketball player to me. So
Which is great, and I don't have anything against James Harden. I just not a player I wish to see succeed in the NBA. So every year when the playoffs come around and he falls apart and doesn't show up, it's fucking awesome. I'm like, good, because then he's only ever going to be a great regular season player, and we know the greats can play in the playoffs. So I am kind of surprised that Patrick Ewing's on there, though. I'm just kidding. No, that guy deserves it. He does. He should be on there. One of the best centers to play the
You were
game.
going to get the rise out of me on that one.
I don't know. I was trying.
So
Yeah.
Oh,
So we-
Carmelo has the same birthday as me.
we can,
I'm sorry to hear that for you.
yeah,
He's born on the same day. I didn't know that.
we can
I'm
segue
comparing
to-
Carmelo's stats and Clay's
Ooh,
stats.
should we
Just
segue?
saying.
Is this a good
Wrestling?
segue?
well, let me throw this in here real quick since we're changing subjects. We don't need to talk on this for very long at all.
Okay.
So the two baseball championship series matchups were the Red Sox versus the Astros,
Yeah.
and the Braves versus the Dodgers. Now, let me ask you this: if you if you were an executive at Fox, which matchup did you then want to see in the World Series?
Boston and the Dodgers.
Exactly right.
And that's not what they're getting.
And that doesn't look like that's what we're getting. Because Houston's already in, of course, and it looks like the Braves are now 3 out the way.
So they're getting and everybody in America that doesn't live in Houston is rooting for the Braves.
Yeah, exactly. But Astros Braves, that's not a series that's going to draw ratings.
And I have to say this, Pat. Me and Joe had this conversation the other day. As much as it pains me to say this, I was rooting for the Astros because I cannot compel myself to root for the Red Sox. I cannot
I was very much indifferent to either team.
Root for those fucking cheaters, Jeremy. That's what they're doing. Root for the cheaters.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, because
says a lot about their character.
because in a lot of ways it more directly affects the Yankees. I was kind of better with the Astros winning, but now it's like I'm going to be like forced to root for the Braves.
Right.
I can't ever root for the Braves, so yeah. But fuck the Astros, fuck the Red Sox, fuck the Dodgers. So that's all I wanted to say about that. That doesn't make any sense, Jeremy.
I know, but I wanted to play that one. I think this one makes a little bit more sense for that.
You lose. Good day, sir.
Yes, that does. That does.
Fox, you lose.
Yep.
All right, so yes, on to wrestling, and with wrestling coming up, I got this little soundbite.
I'm afraid. Okay. Because we have not heard the one specifically for me yet, so I'm very afraid of what Jeremy's going to pull up for that.
Oh yeah, I'm justifiably in a position I'd rather not be in. Yeah.
What?
Oh.
What?
No,
Oh my God.
Do that to me, Mr. Austin.
Can you, like, I would love to see what MJF would do if he got whatted, because he would tear that fucking crowd up. Like, I would love to see MJF if he gets whatted ever.
That would be pretty interesting.
If I'm ever at an AEW show and he comes out, I will fucking try to start the what chance. I would love to see that shit.
He said something tonight up to Darby about putting him to when Sting was in the ring. He's like, I'm going to put you in a wheelchair like your friend Lex Luger.
I have a feeling his reaction would be kind of like this.
Oh, hell no.
And he also said that I believe they were in Florida tonight. He said that's a state. No, for some reason he decided to say that most of the people that were in the arena that night were friends with drug dealers and liked incest.
Oh my God, what? So they're hillbillies that sell drugs. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say that probably about every 50 state right now. So
I mean, you probably can, but it was just funny because to hear him, like, usually when you're in Kentucky and West Virginia, you throw incest out. It was interesting to hear him say that in Florida.
if they were, well, do you know where in Florida they were?
No,
Oh,
I don't.
I'll tell you. I was looking it up because I wanted to go to an ADW show. I wanted to take Lucas to an ADW show.
They were in, like, the Panhandle, because the Panhandle is practically Alabama. So
Yeah.
I mean, they call it Florabama for a reason.
Florabama, nice.
So apparently
they're in Orlando.
Oh, they were in Orlando. See, that makes less sense, but whatever.
I saw this on in multiple places. I've seen this today, and this just happened last night. Apparently, Charlotte and Becky had some kind of altercation last night, like backstage. Like,
yeah,
some kind of.
Apparently, there was some controversy over how that segment was supposed to go, and
neither of them followed. Neither of them did what they were supposed to do. It sounds like.
Yeah, so it sounds like they were kind of like sort of shooting on each other in the ring, and I guess they had loud words backstage. But I saw this story late yesterday or early this morning as well. So basically, I also saw a part about it where Charlotte, I guess, tried to convince them to have her drop the title to Bianca, back on Monday night, and they wouldn't go along with that, which
I was actually expecting Charlotte to lose Monday night, so I was surprised when she didn't lose.
Right, and if she was even pushing for it, it also was kind of interesting that they didn't listen to her, really, to be honest. But because I guess they figured nobody really thought it made sense to do this segment where they just exchange the belts. And let's be honest,
that's so
dumb.
That
it is totally fucking stupid.
This is the one time where if Jim Cornette tried to call something like lazy booking on this, I would actually agree with him, because that is 100% what this is. It's lazy booking.
Right.
It's dumb.
So when I saw the story, I got to thinking, what did this look like in the creative room?
Oh, shit.
Guys, here's what we're going to do. Instead of having Charlotte drop the belt to Bianca, we're just going to have Charlotte and Becky get in the ring with each other. And we're going to have them trade title belts, because it'll bring up the tension for whenever we want to do a Charlotte versus Becky match, which won't be for a long time because they're going to be on separate shows. It's going to be great. It's going to be such great shit. What do you think, Bruce? Yeah, Vince, whatever you say. I mean, whatever you want to do is what we're going to do. I mean, you're the boss. I mean, whatever you want me to do, boss, is how I'll sell it, is how we're going to do it. That's what we'll do. Okay, Vince.
I didn't realize.
Johnny, what do you think, Johnny? Oh, yeah, I think that's a great idea, Vince. Did I mention how great your arms look today? Oh, so vascular, muscular. And hey, all those people online who say you're going senile, don't you believe it for a second. You still got all your faculties about you. That's great to know, because I just pissed myself.
I didn't realize that Becky and Charlotte weren't like BFFs anymore. I guess I missed the fact, because they were like BFFs a year or two ago. They were like inseparable.
It said something that, because real life has, that's had an effect, and you can understand that. Becky got pregnant, she had to go off, have a kid. Charlotte's fiance left the company, shit like that. So I can totally understand that. But in, my heart of hearts, I was also thinking to myself, if they're having words with each other like this, because this train wreck of a segment didn't go off the way it was supposed to, are we getting the beginnings of another Brett versus Sean feud, where all of a sudden guys who were friends backstage start going their separate ways, and then they start looking for the worst in each other, and they start sniping at each other, and then it carries over into the ring and shit like this?
Could we see a new screw job?
I feel like
really hoping for that.
I feel like they need to be careful, because I feel like Charlotte will just be like, see ya.
Well, that's just it. Charlotte has every reason
to leave
right now to bail on the company if she wants to. Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what her contract status is. But,
I don't know.
But she definitely does have every reason to bail on the company if she wants to.
There's a list. There's about a list of 5 people that WWE cannot afford to lose. There are people that they shouldn't want to lose, but there's a very small list of people that would really hurt them. Mm-hmm. Charlotte is one of those people. Mm-hmm. That if she goes to AEW, all of a sudden a women's division that's questionable all of a sudden gets quite a bit better just by adding her. So she's I don't think she's going to leave, but they just need to be careful with her. And it sounds like this was more her fault than Becky's fault. It sounds like that Charlotte was more to blame for this potentially. So, and I guess she left the gorilla position and didn't talk to Vince last night because she was going to watch, Andrade or whatever. So I guess she probably ruffled. I did see a meme today with Charlotte dropping the belt in the garbage can.
Oh, no.
That's
Oh
awesome.
my God! If that ever happened, holy shit!
Yeah.
So,
First of all, they'd sue AEW instantly, but they probably want to go. They probably want to go any further than their probably want to go any further than their lawsuits against WCW did. So,
I thought the segment was very blah.
and they definitely weren't supposed to drop the belt. Charlotte wasn't supposed to drop it, and Becky wasn't supposed to throw it. So that was where like it completely went off the rails. I thought
Becky was. It sounded like Becky was reacting to what Charlotte did. So
Charlotte, like, her and Becky's banter was fine, but then Sasha came out, and Sasha's like one of the best people WWE has on the mic, other than Charlotte, and Charlotte proceeded to tear her apart on the mic too. So Charlotte's torn everybody that's anywhere near her relevancy on the mic. She's torn all of them apart in the last month. She's torn Bianca apart. She's torn Becky apart, and she shit on all three of them on the mic in the last month.
It was just a weird segment to exchange belts just to set up, hey, we're going to have Charlotte versus Sasha. Okay. It was just, the segment for me was just very, I want to say blah. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But it just, I wasn't into it.
Just reading through it, it didn't sound like it was good.
No, you could tell something was going. You could tell something was off in the whole situation, the whole promo, where the hell you want to call it, the whole situation. It just seemed like it was off, because even Sonya Deville, she kind of, at a couple times, she kind of seemed like, wait, something. She seemed like something was wrong. Like, I don't think that was supposed to happen, and I don't think she knew what to do to fix the issue of what was going on.
And Jared, because if you weren't watching last night, Sonya Deville had to be in charge because Brock Lesnar beat the fucking shit out of Adam Pearce last night. He F5'd him twice and split his pants open.
Yeah, he did.
Why did he do that?
Because they did the whole they did this
because he's indefinitely suspended.
They had to write Brock off TV till the Royal Rumble, so they had to throw a referee around, and then Pierce suspended him, and then Brock came out and said, "Can you say that to me again? Can you tell me what you said? I didn't hear you." And Pierce was like saying it while he was choking him, and Brock F5'd him twice.
I'm sorry, I was listening.
Okay, but why was he doing that? So because he was just upset that he lost?
Yeah, because it was a screw job ending with the Usos and stuff, and then
I guess I didn't read that closely.
Yes, like Heyman threw the belt in the ring, and
okay, I read that, yeah.
And then the Usos came out. The ref was knocked out, and then the Usos came out and gave Roman the belt, and he hit Brock. So they're not done. They're going to burn this till WrestleMania. Now Brock's going to beat Roman at WrestleMania. They're going to burn this all the way till Mania.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I guess so when I was reading over the recap, I missed the Usos part of it because, as we all well know, I will not watch the Blood Money shows. So.
I mean, I didn't want. Joe watched it. The only match I watched was the Hell in a Cell. That was the only match I really wanted to watch. So.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
I absolutely refuse to watch the Blood Money shows, especially when I saw in one part of the recap that I read, I read that they were reading like the pro-Saudi government propaganda again too. So I'm like, yeah, fuck this. I'm never watching it.
I saw people.
Yeah, they did.
I saw people the next day. They're like, "Oh, this might have been the best WWE pay-per-view of the year." I'm like, "Wow, that's really impressive." Since most of the ones this year haven't been that great anyway. So whoop-de-fucking do.
Yeah, they're.
I mean.
Putting the best show on for that, yeah, awesome.
I mean, overall, most of the matches were good wrestling matches. They were good matches overall, except for maybe two that weren't that great. But yeah, it was their best crown jewel match show they put together.
It probably was their best Saudi show.
It definitely was.
It probably was their best Saudi. So I found this. Guys, like 2 weeks ago, I found this thing, and I purposely didn't bring it up with me and Joe the other night because this is the most comedy I've had in wrestling in a long time, and you guys may not see it quite as the comedy that I have, But when I saw this, I immediately was on the phone with Jay. Like, these fucking people that 3 guys on Bleacher Report did a draft. They did a wrestling draft.
Oh boy.
And they were only allowed to draft people from WWE and AEW, but the entertainment, it doesn't take very long for the wheels to start coming off this draft.
Your first mistake was Bleacher Report.
I mean, they post a lot of wrestling shit, though. They really do. They post a lot of lists. They post a lot of stuff. And even if I don't agree with most of what they post, they do post a lot of wrestling content. So, and I do enjoy looking at some of it because it ends up being a point of argument or disagreement, or, hey, this is a good list, or, hey, this is a bad list, or something like that. So
hence the argument part.
So, I was going
I'll
to
give
send
you an argument, Trebek.
I can probably send, it's a big like file, but I could probably send it to Jeremy. I have a link to it.
Well, is it on a website? You said it's on Bleacher Report?
What in particular did you want to discuss about it?
So I'll just run down some of the early picks, and then like where the entertainment really starts. So there's 3 guys, and they had to like name their wrestling promotion, because then at the end they had to make an actual wrestling card out of the people they drafted. So there's one guy on here who I'm going to refer to as the only guy I think is not an idiot. So there's one guy I think is not an idiot. And then there's one guy who's kind of in the middle. And then there's one guy who's a complete fucking moron on here. So in my opinion,
Okay, so we've got, so basically what you're saying is we've got the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
the guy who I like picked Kenny with the first pick. He took Omega. I don't really think that you should be taking anybody other than Kenny at this point. I really don't. As much as I like Roman, I don't think anybody other than Kenny should be the first pick. So the first guy got it right. The second guy took Roman. He also got it right. The third guy took CM Punk. I think stretch at 3. No offense to Punk. If you take Punk at this point 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I think you're fine. I think it's a little bit of a stretch right now.
Still, I
posted it in the chat, Jeremy.
I don't think it's a terrible pick. This is one of the few picks this guy actually got right. I'll at least give him CM Punk. It's not terrible.
Well, hey, at least with Punk, you're getting star power.
So then it's like a fantasy draft. So they go in reverse order. So the guy that picked Punk took Bryan Danielson with his next pick. He was the 4th pick. Now the wheels start coming off for me. The Usos went 5th. There's no way. I don't care who you like or who you don't like. There's no way the Usos are the best tag team. I don't give a fuck who you are. If you think the Usos are better than the Bucks, you're crazy. So
also, I don't think you should take a tag team that early if you're like starting a federation kind of thing.
So then the guy who took Kenny takes Becky. There's no way I would take Becky. And this is going to be a theme as we continue to get further into the women. Becky was the first pick of the women. She should not have been the first pick of the women. Charlotte should have been the first pick, like no doubt about it. And Charlotte's not going to get picked for about 20 more picks. So the fact that Charlotte is not the first pick of a woman slips 8. I think 6 more women get taken before Charlotte. That's mind-boggling to me. That
I'm looking at this list now and I'm going, holy shit, this guy got taken 9th.
Yes, we're gonna get to that, Jeremy. So
I was just gonna say. I mean, I think Becky being the first woman taken, you can argue that. To then what you're saying though, that saying about like 6 other women getting picked before Charlotte. WTF?
So Britt Baker goes next.
That person took 2 women right in a row.
So Britt Baker is one of the people that's younger. So if you're going to take a woman, I think you would want to take somebody that's younger. So I don't think I would take Britt before Charlotte, but Britt, there's a better argument for her.
I'm not taking 2 women in my top 3 picks, though.
The eighth pick was Hangman. That one's a little dicey. Now the wheels are about to start coming completely off. At pick 9, the idiot takes Big E Langston. There is no way this guy should go in the top 20. I don't care if you like it or not. This guy has no business being drafted this high.
I'm going to say right now, this guy is evidently a big New Day mark because of who he takes next.
Right. So then he takes the New Day next.
So now he's got all 3 members of the New Day.
So all the 3 members of the New Day and all 3 members of the Bloodline have went. And then somebody takes Adam Cole, and then finally the guy that took Kenny takes the Bucks. There is no way. There was a picture of this a couple weeks ago. Somebody posted Bloodline versus the Elite. I will take the Elite over the Bloodline any day of the week. I like Roman. I think the Usos are good. I would take Kenny and the Bucks over those guys any day of the week. So
here's the other thing about this too, as far as the females are concerned. You're gonna tell me that Bayley and Ruby Soho are gonna get picked before Charlotte?
Yes, Bayley's not even wrestling right now.
That's just as Dr. Evil would say, we're goddamn ridiculous. Especially
like, let's not even talk. In Bayley not wrestling is not even, for me, not even the big issue. It's just, I mean, let's just look at the last 5 years. Like, okay, Bayley had, her and Sasha had that great run and all that, but in a 5-year span, even in that last 5 years, Bayley and Ruby over Charlotte, that just fucking makes no sense to me.
And you guys like Jeremy and Pat, you guys don't really know. The worst pick in the whole draft was the 28th pick. This guy that picked all these terrible people already takes Big Swole and said she's the best kept secret in AEW. She's not even on television. She's awful. And this guy takes her with the 28th pick and one pick after Charlotte Flair. This guy takes this woman who's awful, says she's the best kept secret in AEW. None of the rest of us who saw this, she shouldn't even have been drafted in the whole 90 pick draft, let alone the 28th pick.
Yeah, let's put it this way. If AEW isn't even putting her if AEW isn't even putting her on Dynamite or Rampage, that should tell you something.
I mean, that same person, like, he picks last in the previous round. So he picks last and goes first. So he pretty much picks Liv Morgan and then picks Big Swole.
Did anybody take Jade Cargill?
No, not yet.
I don't believe I'm looking. I don't know if she got drafted. Yes, she went with the 62nd pick.
Okay. Well, I don't really need to hear any more of it.
Which the guy right after this that took Big Swole took Lucha House Party. What the fuck? Like,
I mean, this very much sounds like it to each their own thing, but if I was in some kind of like fantasy draft, trying to build a federation, I mean, I would my first few picks, I would be trying to be like, I need star power. I don't really care where it comes from, but I need what I think would be legitimate star power, like things that people are going to want to pay to see. And then I'd be filling out the roster with like, oh, the guys I like that I know can put on a good match, like the Cesaros type of, kind of thing. But
when they put their pay-per-views together, like the guy that took like the New Day and stuff, his was the worst. His was bad. And then the guy that took Roman, most of the people voted for his. I voted for the guy that took Kenny in the Bucks because I thought his was the best card overall from top to bottom. So it is definitely something like the Big E going 9th. That one to me was amusing because if he wasn't the champion, number one, there's no way he gets drafted. But the better part of it for me was this guy's description of this. And I understand that you guys don't share the same views of the New Day as I do. I do think that Kofi I don't like him, but I'll at least give Kofi credit. He can wrestle. I think he's dicey on the mic at times. I think he's an acquired taste. I think the corniness and the juvenileness of the New Day is appealing to some people. It's not appealing to me. I think they're childish at times. So
I like the names of their federations, actually.
I like Xavier. I like Xavier Woods. I think Xavier Woods is the only guy in the group I don't hate, because I still remember when he was Consequences Creed in TNA, and I liked him. So I think it's cool that they let him win King of the Ring. So anyway,
I still feel like he's the guy though that's better on the mic than he is in the ring.
So then this is what the guy put for Big E. He's like, this guy has been my favorite superstar in the company for 3 or 4 years. I'm sorry, but I'm already laughing at this guy. I'm sorry. So, and then he said,
so he's got a bias.
So he says everything he does is entertaining. So now I'm like on the ground laughing. His promos, his charisma, this guy doesn't have any of that in my opinion. So this was entertainment to me, reading this guy's stuff about Big E. I was laughing the whole time I was reading this about this guy. So,
well, yeah, and I'm not going to say Big E can't talk. You know, there's been times where he's been good. It's more not good than good.
He's the worst of the three on the mic, I for sure. Like,
but
he's
the guy, you know, when he says he's been my favorite wrestler for the past 3 to 4 years. And just from the draft that he did, he took Big E and then the rest of the New Day. He's a New Day mark. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Then he took Bobby Lashley in the Hurt Business.
So, I mean, there's nothing wrong. You can like who you like. But if you're supposed to be doing a draft, like Darth Pat said, you should be taking star power and guys that could put on matches. The New Day's gimmick does not go over with everybody. It goes over with kids anymore. It does not go over with adults anymore. Like, it's run its time, it's run its thing. The only reason they keep that around is because they're selling merch and lots of kids are buying that merch. That's the only reason that gimmick's still alive. Like, because WWE says it's a gold mine.
They're trying to please multiple groups at one time.
Right. And I have no problem with that. It's a fucking business. You got to do those things. But I'm not going to build my business around that. It's got 3 guys. No offense, but I'm not going to do it.
And I mean, I generally like Big E. Like, I really felt like he's better in the ring than some people give him credit for. But AJ's absolutely right in that there's no way he would be picked 9th if he wasn't currently the champion.
Right. And his championship was a gift. It was not.
Well, right. But here's the thing. He very well may prove to be a good champion. We don't really know yet, but he's got to prove to be a good champion first before you could ever consider him drafting him this high. And that certainly hasn't happened yet. So it really does make it. It's like I said, when people do something like this, they'll start to reveal some kind of a personal bias. And like you said, when he goes and he says, "Oh, he's been my favorite guy for 3 or 4 years now," he's got a personal bias. That's why he's taken him that high.
Yeah.
And I don't dislike Hangman. I don't think Hangman should have went before Adam Cole either. There's no way Hangman's a better. I don't have any. I think Hangman's a really good wrestler. I don't think he's a great promo. I think he's an okay promo. I would have taken Adam Cole before I would have taken Hangman. Whether I liked Adam Cole or not, I would have taken him before Hangman.
No, so. and I agree with you too. And this is somebody who hasn't really seen a tremendous deal of either guy, but even I know enough to know that Cole, even if it was just at NXT, because I knocked that down and everything, Cole has definitely accomplished more than Hangman Adam Page is. Hangman Adam Page is a guy who's still more potential than has done stuff.
And he has potential, and he's going to beat Kenny in a couple weeks at Full Gear, and he's going to have the belt. So we're going to get to see what happens when he has the title. So
right. Let's see how he does as a champion too. So.
Yeah. All righty.
Pat, real quick, Jeremy. There was a blurb. Me and Joe were talking about this the other day. I want to say it was like 6 months ago or something. Something came up on my Facebook thing where you were like, it was probably one of your Yankee blog people, but he said something about the Shield, and there was banter about you guys about the Shield being the best faction like in wrestling, and then you were like, well, I think one of my friends would disagree with you on that, and I know who you were talking about. You were talking about me. with the Undisputed Era. So me and Joe were kind of talking about that the other day because I know you were referring to me when you said that, Pat. So
yeah, I don't really remember the conversation, but
I don't remember it either. But it just popped up.
I do remember probably making that reference. Yeah,
it was just when I saw it because this was like 2000. I think it was like 2016 or 2000. It was early. It wasn't like. It was before the Undisputed Era. He even won all the belts and stuff. It wasn't like recent. It was something that happened in probably 2017 or it was a while ago. So,
okay.
It was like a memory or something. It wasn't like the actual, but it was like a memory of it.
Memories.
So.
The other thing looking at this, so I'm looking at the pay-per-views that they created, which I like the concepts they were talking about. But Charlotte Flair losing to Deonna Purrazzo for the women's title.
What?
Joe,
I like how he has a triple threat match between Roman, Seth, and Moxley for the world championship.
I don't like that because we've already seen that. Why are we doing something we've already seen? We don't need to do that. We've already seen that.
Having Deonna Purrazzo be Charlotte sounds like we're trying to put Deonna Purrazzo over. Like we're using Charlotte's star power to try to make a new star.
Yeah. If you're doing fantasy booking, to me, you don't book a match that's already happened. So I don't want to see Rollins, Moxley, and Roman when it's already happened once.
Yes, so, that is also very true.
So the best match.
He puts in there. What did he write about that? Oh, he goes for the first pay-per-view in PWC history. I like the names they created for him anyway. I figured it was important to address the Reigns, Rollins, and Moxley being in the same company so we can move on with an intended direction of the company. I get what he's saying with that.
The best match on all three cards, the match I would want to see would be Kenny and the Bucks versus Cody, AJ Styles, and Finn or whatever, like that Bullet Club Outcasts versus the Elite. That would be the match I would want to see of every match they put on there. That was the one I would want to see the most.
Oh, yeah, versus Finn, AJ, and Cody. And this says, Ibushi comes down to help the losing faction after the match and show his disdain for his former best friend, Omega. I mean, that makes sense. That's a story in itself.
The other problem, though, with what you said there about, I just got to do the Roman versus Rollins versus Moxley match, is that you risk then people wanting to see more of it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
yeah.
Okay. It was an interesting thing. Like I said, I don't always
definitely.
I read a lot of Bleacher Report stuff and then disagree with half of it. And
as much fun as that would be to do our own little draft,
I would not do one.
Oh my God, no way. There's too many wrestlers and
no, I wouldn't. And this is no offense to anybody I'm friends with, because Jay said he's like, we should do one. I'm like, I'm not doing one, because once one of you guys start picking something that I think is funny or stupid, I'm going to call you on it, and then it's going to turn into a worse situation. So I'm just not. It's easy for me to make fun of. It's easy for me to make fun of some Joe Schmo who I don't know. Because I don't know how to not say stuff, I would say stuff to people, and it would end up being a bad thing, not a good thing. So I know myself. So
yeah, and that's perfectly. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's just too many wrestlers that I don't know enough about from different organizations. So, and
I think it would even be hard for me and Joe and like Eli and Jay to do one, and we watch all of it, and I still think it would be, it wouldn't necessarily be easy. So, and we know who most of the people are. So,
yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to be the end of our show. We have been going for 2.5 hours now.
So, can I ask one other quick question?
Oh wow, we did.
If you must.
It seemed like it was that long. Wow.
Did we all see the new trailer last weekend?
For
which one?
For the Batman.
Yes.
No, I did not see that one yet.
You're a fucking slacker.
For those who did, first impressions.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm more excited about the Flash than I am about Batman. That's me personally. So,
well, we didn't get to see a lot of the Flash, unfortunately.
I am looking forward to see it because, WB's biggest issue was when we had the Dark Knight trilogy, there were some dark parts, and then Zack Snyder does his thing and, makes Batman kind of dark. But yet they're letting this guy just make Batman even darker than all the others, which I'm fine with. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm curious to see how they incorporate the year one concept from the comics into this. So,
who is playing the Batman?
Robert
Pattinson.
Oh, okay.
And so far through the trailer, I think he looks fine. He seems fine as Bruce Wayne / Batman.
He seems to look good in the suit. He doesn't seem like he's trying to do the Christian Bale Batman voice, thank God. No. And for me, the most interesting thing is that they won't give us a full. They haven't really shown the Riddler's face. Like we know Paul Dano's playing him, but they haven't really shown his face completely. And
who's playing the Riddler?
Paul Dano.
No, I don't know that name.
He was in Little Miss Sunshine. Or I can't really think of anything else that I know off the top of my head that I know you would have seen him in.
Yeah, I saw Little Miss Sunshine, but I can't remember all the people in it.
I'm excited to see how Zoe Kravitz plays Catwoman.
Yeah, Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman.
They're having two villains in the first one.
Well, she doesn't really look like she's a villain per se. Colin Farrell's playing Penguin under a lot lot
Yes.
Yeah, you can't even tell it's him.
You wouldn't know it was Colin Farrell. You didn't know it was Colin Farrell. Jeffrey Wright's playing Jim Gordon. John Turturro, I know, is playing Carmine Falcone, and I don't really remember.
So that's a fourth villain, kind of.
Falcone.
And Andy Serkis is Alfred. So.
Seems like a good cast.
I'm definitely looking forward to it, but of course it's not until March. So.
And so they're making a Flash spin-off movie?
Yes.
Yeah,
we're opening the DC multiverse, and we're going to see the Michael Keaton Batman in the
Flash. The Michael Keaton Batman's supposed to be in it. And like in the little bit of footage of it that they showed last weekend, I guess it was a teaser at best.
Yeah,
it
was a teaser.
You heard Michael Keaton's voice, and you kind of saw him from like behind in the cowl and everything. And Ben Affleck's Batman is supposed to be in it as well. So
I like Ezra Miller as the Flash. I like him. So
he was definitely one of the better parts of Justice League. And no, I still haven't watched the Snyder cut. But yeah, so I was definitely still wanting to see more of him and his character.
I think it's cool that Hayden Christensen is going to be in the Ahsoka series. That's cool.
Oh, yes, I forgot to mention that too. So I can only assume he'll be a Force ghost unless they do a full-on flashback.
He's supposed to play Anakin and Darth Vader in some concept of that show, from what I've read.
Interesting.
So they probably will do a flashback of some nature.
Well, they'd have to do a flashback in order for him to be Vader, then, yeah.
So we'll see.
Assuming the Ahsoka series is set around the same general timeline as The Mandalorian.
Who knows? They could go backwards and have it, because if they kind of use some of the stuff that was part of, was it
Star Wars Rebels?
Yeah, Rebels, where Ahsoka's in there and she fights Darth Vader in that temple thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure the timeline for this Ahsoka thing.
My oldest nephew is going as the Mandalorian for Halloween.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah, when I was over his house 2 weeks ago for his brother's birthday, and I asked him what he was going for his Halloween, not only was he so anxious to tell me he was the Mandalorian, he quick went and changed into the costume to show me.
Nice.
I was like, looking good, bud.
Lucas is going as a gladiator.
Oh yes, I saw those pictures on Facebook. He looked awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, those
really
those were cool
in that costume. So that was really cool looking.
And luckily, it came with all those pieces as one thing. We didn't have to buy any of the other pieces. It all came in that one thing, so that was nice.
That's a
good
relief.
stuff.
For the price, it better. Shit.
Always.
So, all right.
Always.
So with all that being said, that brings us to the end of our show. We did have a Mount Rushmore plan for today, but since we went so long, we didn't want to try and throw that in here too. So you'll have to wait until next week for that. We're also going to have an NBA draft coming up on one of our upcoming episodes, so you want to tune in for that, and a special giveaway for our Survivor Series live broadcast that we'll be doing as we talk about Survivor Series as it's going on and break down the matches
November
and all
20th. I think that's November 20th or November 21st is the Survivor Series. So
I believe so.
So 21st.
Yeah, so you'll have to tune in, find out what those going to be, but we are going to do a giveaway. I'll tell you now, it's going to be a t-shirt, but I don't know how many we're going to do, and we don't know what the criteria is. We're still working that out, but if you stay tuned, you'll find out what it's going to be. We'll be posting it on Facebook as well as on our Twitter, so everybody knows when it'll be, what it'll be, and how you can actually win a t-shirt. So
one thing we can guarantee about it though is that it will be such good shit.
That is for sure. All right, so thank you everybody for watching on Facebook. And whenever you catch this episode, wherever you catch this episode, we thank you for watching. We always appreciate you tuning in. You guys make this fun for us to be able to continue to do. We hope we entertain you as much as we entertain ourselves. And as you can see, we're starting to amp up our production with some sound bites and fun stuff to throw in there and stuff like that. Even if
we get fancy, people. Yeah. Fancy.
We're getting fancy. And I have to thank Joe for that, because if he didn't show me how to do that, we would have never had the sound bites to begin with. So thank you.
Tomorrow, celebrity guests.
Yeah, I don't count on that. But thanks everybody for watching and tuning in and listening. We do appreciate it. And with that, we say good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and we'll catch you on the next episode.